Chapter 847. Their palace lord was a Peak Dozong. And that Ring King Prison's prison emperor was also a Peak Dozong. A single Do emperor was enough to suppress all of them. Looking at his own hall master, he saw that he was trembling as if he had just peed, as if he could not stop peeing. Seeing such a situation, all the prison kings' hearts turned cold. If the prison emperor could get his hands on the mystical flame, he would be able to break through to become a Do emperor. At that time, would he still need to be afraid of the two of them? He wouldn't need to be afraid at all. He could even fight against Yuanyang Manor. Although Yuanyang Manor was second to none in the north, they still had the strength to fight against them. Yang Yao said gravely, "Mystical flame is a good thing. It isn't appropriate for Yuanyang Manor to take it away just like that." "Oh, what else do you want?" Feng Xiu asked curiously. "What can you give us?" Yang Yao retorted. Fighting for the greatest benefit? His benevolent king prison and the three absolute hall were at each other's throats. How could it be possible for Yuanyang Prefecture to take everything the moment they arrived? At the very least, they should cough up some blood. Feng Xiu laughed lightly. "Are you still not satisfied with giving me your life?" Hearing this, Shi Yu and Yang Yao's face darkened. "This is a blatant threat, shameless thing. Go to hell after you die, trash." Just when the two were talking, the mystical flame suddenly ran away. The man standing behind Feng Xiu's face tightened, and he pulled at the direction where the mystical flame ran away. The huge pull made the mystical flame a lot slower, but it still ran away desperately. The green flame didn't seem to be that bright anymore. Seeing such a situation, Yang Yao and Shi Yu clapped their hands in their hearts. After all, if we can't get it, others can't either. Feng Xiu's face darkened, and he pulled the mystical flame along with the man behind him. Right at this moment, the mystical flame let out a powerful green light, causing people to cover their eyes. In just an instant, the mystical flame flew towards the Azure Dragon Empire. Chase! The man who didn't speak all this while shouted and took the lead to chase. Feng Xiu took a glance at the two and chased after them. Although Feng Xiu introduced himself as Yuanyang Manor's hired thug, it wasn't that simple. These two people were Yuanyang Manor's left and right law protectors. For such a big matter, the palace master naturally had to use the best people. Yi Hua looked at the deviant flames that were rushing towards him, and the corner of his mouth unconsciously revealed an arc. "My entire body feels much better, and those deviant flames within my body are no longer restless." Along with Yi Hua stretching out his palm, the green-colored deviant flame fell onto Yi Hua's palm. The deviant flame was as quiet as a kitten, and it was even intimately stroking Yi Hua's palm. Meanwhile, Qingya and the others were also looking at the deviant flame curiously. They didn't have much feelings towards the deviant flame, after all. It was something that children shouldn't play with. In the eyes of others, this deviant flame might be a super treasure, but in the eyes of these mothers, it was just a child's toy. There was no other explanation. "Yi Hua, this deviant flame seems to be very weak." Qingya looked at the deviant flame in Yi Hua's hand and said, "It's just a newborn. It'll be fine after a while." Yi Hua said faintly, "Although it is a bit weak, in any case it is still a deviant flame. As for what abilities this deviant flame has, I will slowly uncover it in the future." Now there was one thing to solve, and that was the two people who had fallen behind. At this moment, Feng Xiu and Xia Yang landed together. They looked at Yi Hua, who was sitting in the wheelchair, and the deviant flame in his hand. However, they neglected the four beautiful women beside Yi Hua. However, there were a few people floating above one residence. Yang Yao and Shi Yu didn't leave in a hurry as they looked at the situation below. Who is this man? Why did the deviant flame end up in his hand? Feng Xiu and Xia Yang had this question in their hearts as well. Who are you? How dare you spoil the matters of my Yuanyang residence? Right now Feng Xiu's mood was very bad. Originally, his plan was going smoothly, and he would be able to directly report back to Yuanyang residence later on. Yi Hua raised his right hand, and the green deviant flame disappeared. Evidently, he had already kept the deviant flame. This also represented a possibility. The deviant flame recognized a master. Yang Yao and Shi Yu looked at the scene dumbfoundedly. Is it that easy for a deviant flame to recognize a master? Isn't it very troublesome for a deviant flame to recognize a master? Furthermore, it might even be very dangerous. Those are all farts. We can only see it with our own eyes. Right now, it can only be said that this man is very arrogant. He actually took something from Yuanyang residence and kept the deviant flame without saying anything. I reckon that the people from Yuanyang residence are going to explode in anger. The two people from Yuanyang residence were indeed on the verge of exploding in anger, and the veins on their foreheads were already popping out. This man actually subdued the deviant flame. How is this possible? Even the residence master said that subduing a deviant flame would take a very long time, but this man actually subdued the deviant flame in an instant. Their entire brain was unable to understand what was going on. Also, those women who were standing at the side, Feng Xiu and Xiaoyang finally noticed those women, and the first thing that they felt was that they were stunned. It was as if they had forgotten that they should be angry, because their deviant flame was snatched away. However, this kind of shock was only for an instant. After all, the two of them were Dodi, and their mental state was very good. It was not that easy for them to be bewitched. At this moment, Yihua said faintly, "This is the first time that I have heard of Yuanyang residence. Qingya, have you heard of it before?" "Never heard of it before. It might be some small sect," Qingya said with a joyful tone. Especially the word small sect. It made Feng Xiu and Xiaoyang quite angry. "A bunch of nonsense," Feng Xiu shouted out angrily. He was not a kind person. To actually say that Yuanyang residence was a small sect. Unforgivable. All of you are a bunch of unruly people. Feng Xiu waved his hand, and a blade that was formed by astral wind rushed towards Qingya. The blade carried the aura of a Dodi. Wherever the blade passed by, a dent appeared, and the garden of Wan Mansion was immediately destroyed. The people flying in the air couldn't bear to see this scene. A super great beauty was about to die. Sure, you couldn't bear it in his heart. He felt that Feng Xiu was too shameless, actually taking action against a woman. Clang clang clang. The blades formed by the astral winds all collided with Qingya's body, as if they were blocked by an invisible barrier. Qingya was completely unscathed, and the faint smile on her face didn't even move a bit. The atmosphere suddenly changed and became quiet. What was he most afraid of? Silence. This was especially the case for Feng Xiu. He felt that this was impossible. Although this wind blade was not very powerful, it still originated from the hands of a Dodi. Even a person at the peak of the Dozone class would not dare to randomly receive it. Yet this woman actually possessed such a powerful magic weapon, blocking his wind blade. Yihua didn't plan to let these two people go. To actually dare to make a move on my woman. Could it be that the two of you don't know? You can't afford to offend my woman. The two of you, go to the side and drink some tea, Yihua said faintly. Something should be done by me. Qingya didn't say anything. With outsiders around, I definitely have to listen to my husband. If not, I would be losing my husband's face. After Qingya, Qing Yutong and Donghuang Baiji entered the pavilion, Daji asked respectfully, "Master, do you need me to kill them?" End of this chapter. Chapter 848. Daji, go and make some tea, Yihua said faintly. Daji was slightly startled. I wanted to do something for Master, but Master didn't allow me to do it. Let's go somewhere else, Yihua said faintly. Feng Xiu and Xiaoyang nodded. After all, if such a battle were to start, a large number of Azure Dragon Empire's commoners would die. If it was the past Yihua, he wouldn't have said such a thing. The more people die, the better. However, the current Yihua still took this into consideration. Therefore, he chose to change the location and teach them a lesson. You guys are indeed very powerful. In front of Benevolent King Prison and 3 Absolute Palace, you guys can do whatever you want, but in front of me, even the Emperor has to kneel, let alone you small fries. The group of people changed the location, and Qingya directly brought the pavilion with her. When her husband went out to fight, as the wife, she would definitely cheer him on the side. Seeing that the group of people left, Gu Haoran heaved a sigh of relief. He was afraid that they would destroy the Azure Dragon Empire. And if that happened, he would become the second emperor to die from anger. At a small stall on the street of the Azure Dragon Empire, A man smiled as he watched the group of people leave. It seemed like everything was under his control. Yihua, who was sitting on the wheelchair, had already recovered. He looked refreshed as if he had just taken a bath. The deviant fire in his body had all calmed down. As for the green deviant fire that was growing rapidly, I'm really curious. Although Yihua had recovered, he didn't plan to stand up. He didn't want to give them a blow. Who are you? Hand over the deviant fire. I can still spare your life. Feng Xiu shouted at Yihua. Xia Yang, who was at the side, also had a black face. If I don't do this well, it will be a shame. 2 emperor doers went to snatch something, and they didn't even get it. Isn't that embarrassing? Master, the tea is ready. Daji obediently brought over a cup of tea. Yihua took it and took a sip. Daji, your culinary skills are getting better and better. Thank you for your compliment, master. Hearing her master's praise, Daji was satisfied and continued to make tea. Facing Yihua's disregard, Feng Xiu became angry. Arrogant child. Watch my arrow. In his rage, Feng Xiu condensed a white feather bow in his left hand. There were no arrows, but he could use his battle chi to form arrows. Boundless battle chi formed in Feng Xiu's right hand, and a golden arrow slowly formed. With a terrifying pressure, the entire world began to whistle, and the clouds in the sky began to reverse. All of this was because of this golden arrow. Yang Yao and Shiryu, who were watching from the sky, inhaled a breath of cool air. Was this the strength of a Dodi? So strong. Just condensing this feather arrow had caused such a huge commotion. And that bow didn't look like an ordinary item either. Fortunately, he did not become enemies with the 2 of them just now. Otherwise, he would definitely be dead. Facing the might of a Dodi, all of the people who were watching the battle exclaimed in admiration. However, to Yihua, these people were still salted fish, and there was no difference between them. He slowly sipped his tea and looked at the other party. When it came to archery, Brett was also an expert. I wonder when Absolute Heaven will be able to recover. This time, when I return, I'll have to assign some tasks to them. I can't let them stay idle. I, the Supreme Overlord, promised them that I would let them go on a killing spree after coming here. Looking at Yihua's indifferent look, Feng Xiu felt that his dignity was being trampled on. I, a Dodi, am releasing my attack, and yet Yihua is actually still drinking tea and thinking about other things. Go and die. You trash. Great destruction. Feng Xiu's arrow wasn't shot towards Yihua, it was shot towards the sky. After the arrow left the bowstring, an enormous amount of battle chi erupted, and the entire world seemed to have quietened down. A golden arrow flew into the black clouds, and one could faintly see that the clouds were flickering with a golden light. Bang! A loud sound rang out from the clouds, and all of the people who were watching the battle covered their ears. Those who were weaker even started to bleed. Yihua sipped his tea, looked at the clouds silently, and let out a breath. Suddenly, the golden light in the sky disappeared, and a pitch-black arrow descended towards Yihua. Everyone immediately revealed a shocked expression. Why did the golden arrow turn black? Furthermore, the might of the arrow seems to have become even more valiant. Look at the battle chi that is being emitted from the arrow. It seems like the arrow is going to pierce through the ground. The arrow that was descending from the sky had already pierced through the air, forming an arc-shaped airwave, and the entire ground was shaking. As long as this arrow lands, a huge crater would be formed, and the size of the crater should be as big as the Azure Dragon Empire. However, Yi Huamin continued drinking his tea while looking at the descending arrow. Big sister, how do you think brother-in-law is going to act cool? Qing Yutong hurriedly asked. She wasn't the slightest bit worried about what Yi Hua was going to do. After all, these 2 people were much weaker than the 2 people who suddenly appeared in the palace that day. Qingya pursed her lips. Based on my understanding of Yi Hua, he likes to snap his fingers and act cool. The possibility of that is very high. Dong Huang Baiji agreed. In the past, Yi Hua liked to snap his fingers the most, and he would snap his fingers whenever he didn't agree with something. Because of that, Dong Huang Baiji and Qingya also liked to snap their fingers. Qing Yutong laughed. I feel that brother-in-law will grab hold of the arrow. Right after Qing Yutong finished speaking, A terrifying cyclone immediately spread out. Because the arrow had already landed, dust filled the sky, and Feng Xiu revealed out a confident smile. With such an arrow, not even a single strand of hair will be left behind. To actually dare to go against me, Feng Xiu, you are simply courting death. And to even dare to covet the mysterious fire, you are truly overestimating yourself. Is the mysterious fire something that you should be taking? Yang Yao, who was standing in the sky, said. This person from Yuanyang Palace is indeed formidable. That's right, I am completely unable to take on this arrow. I reckon that when the arrow lands, I will be crushed into minced meat by that enormous duki. Shiryu said gravely. Even though they were very far away from each other, they were still able to feel that terrifying might, let alone that man who was sitting in a wheelchair. He would have to endure all of that might. Seizing the mysterious fire sure is dangerous. Yang Yao couldn't help but sigh. And this is only the people from Yuanyang Palace who are participating in this. If the people from the north and the people from the south are added in, then they would definitely have to fight to the death. Gradually, when the dust dispersed, Qin Yutong cried out in surprise. Didn't I say so? Brother-in-law should act cool like this. The corner of Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's mouth twitched. We really guessed it right. Right now, Yihua was grabbing onto the arrow with his right hand, and the arrowhead was still very far away from Yihua's forehead. Looking at Yihua's action, the entire place became silent. Yang Yao and Shiryu's mind was buzzing. How is this possible? This man actually grabbed onto an arrow with his bare hands. And it is even an arrow that was shot out by a Do-Di. Is he a Do-Zun? He is even an overlord. It is impossible for something like this to happen. However, Feng Xiu and Xia Yang were shocked as well, and their entire bodies became stiff. This cripple who is sitting in a wheelchair, is he even a human? End of this chapter. Chapter 849. This was the first time Feng Xiu saw someone being able to catch his arrow barehanded. Even if it was the palace master, he wouldn't be able to do it so easily. He would have to use a technique to block the arrow, but this man was able to do it. Furthermore, it was so easy. What do you think you are catching? Catching fish. Damn it. Using such a method to trample on my dignity, this is unforgivable. I must definitely defeat him and wash away my shame. Feng Xiu could be seen taking a step back with his right leg. Immediately, countless cracks appeared on the ground and spread towards the surroundings. Originally, the white feather bow was white in color. However, right now the color of the white feather bow gradually became dim, and it no longer had its original brightness. However, the might it gave off increased by more than a few times, all the way until the entire white feather bow became black gold. However, this kind of gold was not the kind that was shiny, but it made people feel suffocated. A terrifying aura condensed in Feng Xiu's right hand, and a thin and long arrow began to form. The arrow revolved around the arrow, while carrying the aura of death. This arrow contained the might of the world, making people speechless. Xia Yang, who was standing not far away from Feng Xiu, was a bit surprised. Feng Xiu actually made a breakthrough today. This is truly worthy of celebration. As expected, only by meeting a strong opponent will one be able to stimulate one's potential. However, the strength of this opponent might be very formidable. If Feng Xiu's attack doesn't succeed, both of us will be in danger. Since you dare to humiliate me like this, I shall let you experience what is called the taste of death. Moon-breaking arrow. A biting cold aura burst out from the bow. If this arrow was said to be able to pierce through the moon, Yang Yao and Shiryu, who were standing in the air, would not doubt it. I'm afraid that this arrow won't be so easy to block. Shiryu released the strength of a peak dozong to block the terrifying aura. Yang Yao was the same as well. He could only release his duki to block the aura. As expected of a Do Emperor, Qin Yutong was especially excited right now. Big sister Baiji, how do you think brother-in-law is going to play now? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji laughed and chose not to answer. Yihua doesn't seem to be playing with his fingers anymore. He is playing with other tricks. Aya, the two of you are actually not speaking anymore, seriously. Qin Yutong stomped her feet. This is so boring. If only Yi Zizi was here, she would have definitely made the bet already. Yihua looked at the incoming arrow and said faintly, if this is your most formidable technique, then I am indeed a bit disappointed. It could be seen that the arrow in Yihua's hand did not disappear. Instead, Yihua directly threw it out. This person is crazy. Looking at Yihua's actions, Yang Yao mumbled. Yeah, he actually threw an arrow at Feng Xiu's buttocks. This is simply humiliating Feng Xiu again. It's too miserable. Sure, you spoke softly. If he was Feng Xiu, he would definitely find a place to bury himself. He had actually been endlessly humiliated by the other party. Being a Dodi, this was even more miserable than being killed. It should be known that a Dodi was respected no matter where he went. However, Yang Yao and Sure you felt that a Dodi was only SOSO today. If they met an even more powerful opponent, they would have to unleash their strongest attack. Feng Xiu looked at Yihua's actions and the arrow that was thrown at him from his buttocks and said mockingly, "You want to block my attack with just this? You are just daydreaming." Feng Xiu's words weren't without any basis. Looking at the arrow that Yihua threw out, it was soft, and it seemed like it wasn't even hard at all. Looking at the arrow that Feng Xiu threw out, it was simply hard, and the aura that it brought along was enough to destroy the world. Ignorance is very scary, especially naive ignorance. Yihua said faintly. There was not a single ripple on his face, and he looked extremely cool. Qing Yutong stood in the pavilion and clapped her hands. Brother-in-law looks so handsome, as expected of my brother-in-law, act tough King Yi. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji shook their heads. This bad habit of Yihua's might not be able to be changed in this lifetime. The two arrows finally collided with each other. In actuality, the two arrows were formed from Duqi. Although they were both Feng Xiu's Duqi, when Feng Xiu held the arrows in his hands, he had already injected his own Duqi into the arrows, and a qualitative change had already occurred to the arrows. Even if a blade of grass were to receive the Duqi of the main body, it would be able to kill the other party, let alone this arrow. Hehe, if this arrow of yours is able to break through my defense, I will eat shit. Feng Xiu seemed to be very confident of his own strength. However, Feng Xiu also flew into a rage out of humiliation. Towards his arrow being able to be caught by Yihua, he thought that it was Yihua's luck. Even Xiaoyang, who was behind Feng Xiu, felt the same way. Thus, he asked Feng Xiu to test out Yihua once again. After hearing what Feng Xiu said, Yihua laughed lightly. If that is the case, you will have to prepare a big basin. The soft butt of the arrow could be seen colliding with Feng Xiu's arrow. The crowd that was standing in the air immediately raised their hands to block the light, fearing that they would be blinded by the light. However, the expected explosion didn't appear. On the contrary, it was very quiet, and there wasn't even a trace of aura fluctuation. Because this was an absolute suppression. The butt of the arrow could be seen directly piercing through Feng Xiu's arrow, turning into Duqi and dissipating in the air. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. How is this possible? It is one thing for you to be able to catch the arrow with one hand, but with just a casual throw of the arrow, you are able to break through someone's ultimate technique, and you are even able to break through it without anyone noticing. Is it really alright for you to do this? You can't be like this. This is too much of a blow to people. At this moment, Feng Xiu and Xiaoyang were unable to remain calm. This person is so terrifying, just a casual throw of the arrow has such a great power, and nothing happened. It's gone just like that. Just when Feng Xiu and Xiaoyang were in a daze, the arrow that was originally slow suddenly sped up. This kind of speed was already not something that could be seen with the naked eye, and even the two Do emperors were unable to sense it. Puff. This was a kind of dull sound that came from piercing through flesh. Feng Xiu suddenly laughed loudly. Do you think that you are able to pierce through me with an arrow's butt? You are thinking too much. Who said that an arrow's butt can't pierce someone to death? Yihua said softly. At this moment, Feng Xiu felt pain in his brain. Slightly lowering his head to take a look, he saw that an arrow that was formed by Duqi had shot through his abdomen, and the arrowhead was still in front of him, as if it was pierced through by someone from the back. Seeing this scene, the crowd in the air couldn't help but rub their eyes. Is this real? Unbelievable. Just who is that man on the wheelchair? He is actually living in the Azure Dragon Empire for no reason, and he is actually so low-key. If not for the matter of the mystical flame, Probably no one would know that there is such a pervert living in the city. Hua Yang, who was standing in the crowd, looked at the man, and then looked at the women in the pavilion. Only now did he realize that one of the women in the pavilion was the one who was at the banquet that day. Then the other 3 masked women, they must be them. End of this chapter. Chapter 850. And looking at the situation, the relationship between these women and this man was not ordinary. Could it be that they were all his women? It was possible that these women had appeared in the imperial palace. Could it be that they also knew about the heavenly flame, so they had specially waited here? He was quite a schemer, choosing to appear at the very last moment. Feng Xiu could feel the pain in his abdomen, but he could still accept it. This was just a small injury, nothing to be afraid of. Feng Xiu was preparing to pull out the arrow. When he held the arrow in his hand, he could feel that the arrow in his abdomen was extremely unstable, as if it was about to explode. Feng Xiu was sure that if it really exploded, he would not be able to keep his body, and his cultivation would be halved. You. Who the hell are you? Feng Xiu began to panic. If he could remain calm in the face of such an opponent, then he was definitely not human. Yihua said faintly, Me? I come from the northern Liang's Wushu Empire. Wushu Empire? When everyone heard about this empire, they were dumbfounded because they had never heard of such a place before. Yi Huashan took the opportunity to advertise his territory. He believed that after tonight, the entire Aoyuo River region would know of the existence of Voidless Empire. I know that all of you are puzzled. Wushu Empire is a majestic city, and you small sects and clans are nothing more than some grains of sand. Along with Yi Hua's words, everyone became even more curious about Voidless Empire, and they even planned to go and take a look at this empire to see just what it was like. Hehe, a small void empire also dares to act arrogantly in front of Yuanyang Manor. Feng Xiu once again gripped the arrow in his abdomen, planning to pull it out. This was a time bomb, and he did not know when it would explode, so he might as well pull it out. Let me remind you, it will explode. Yihua said indifferently. Feng Xiu's hand stopped moving. He wanted to crush the other party's head, but he was unable to do so. This feeling intertwined in his heart, and he felt that he would explode before the arrow even exploded. Yihua said once again, You all should be very curious as to why there wasn't any explosion just now. In actuality, the explosion was absorbed. If you all want to see it, you all can. Feng Xiu's expression became even uglier after hearing this. As a Dou-Di, he was worshipped by tens of thousands of people. However, he had fallen here today. He had lost all his face. At this moment, Xiaoyang walked out with a respectful expression. This was power. Only by being strong would one be able to obtain other people's respect. Yihua had understood this principle long ago. It was just that in the past, his understanding was more extreme. At that time, he felt that killing was the only way. But now that he had changed his method, the result was the same. Senior, Xiaoyang cupped his hands and greeted. Hearing Xiaoyang call the wheelchair-bound man senior, Yang Yao and Sure you were shocked. Xiaoyang actually admitted defeat. Everyone felt astonished. A Dou-Di. To make a Dou-Di admit defeat, just how powerful must that person be? However, Yang Yao felt that it was the right time to admit defeat. Just like himself and Shiryu, as long as they admitted defeat, they would still have a life. If they didn't admit defeat, they would definitely lose their lives. When Feng Xiu saw that his good friend had admitted defeat for him, he became even angrier. But what else could he say now? There was a fatal arrow in his abdomen, and he would die. Qing Yutong sighed, I admit defeat. This is boring. Brother-in-law was just this powerful. He did not need to do anything. All he needed to do was extend his hand and wave it, and he was able to scare 2 Dou-Di into peeing their pants. Towards this situation, Yihua had also somewhat guessed it. After all, other than admitting defeat, they could only die. Between admitting defeat and death, they chose to admit defeat. This was a wise decision. After all, not everyone wanted to die. Even Supremes didn't want to die. However, admitting defeat does not mean that I will let you off. To actually dare to attack my woman, your fate has already been decided. We are the left and right protectors of Yuanyang residents. Our Yuanyang residence's residence master is a dozun. I hope that senior will be magnanimous. Hearing that, Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes. To actually dare to threaten me and even mention the power behind me. After hearing that, Yang Yao and Shiryu were very shocked. The reason why they were so shocked was because of a dozun. In the past, they heard that the residence master was only at the peak of the Do-Di realm. However, they never expected that the residence master actually broke through to the dozun realm. If the residence master broke through to the Supremes, he would be on par with the Southern Meridian sect and Shin Academy. Yuanyang residence, are you threatening me? Dozun, haha. Yihua suddenly laughed lightly. You actually brought out a dozun? At the very least, you should bring out an overlord. Only by doing so would I be able to get excited. Overlords are basically all my enemies, and I don't mind personally taking action against them. I don't have any intention of threatening you. I just want to represent the residence master to befriend senior. In the future, when senior comes to Yuanyang residence, I will definitely treat you well. It must be said that this Xia Yang still had some brains. His original words were obviously a threat. However, he immediately changed his words to befriend senior. This way, he would at least be able to keep his life. Want to befriend me? You are very arrogant. Yihua felt that the other party was insulting his intelligence. A small sect wants to befriend me? Where did you get the courage to say such words? Did Liang Jingru give it to me? Xia Yang was also a Do-Di. He had already bowed and said some things that he shouldn't have said. However, the other party was still unwilling to forgive him. Xia Yang, don't be long-winded with him. You leave, I will hold him back. Go and report to the residence master. Feng Xiu said softly. Right now they could only do this. However, without waiting for Xia Yang to speak, Yihua said faintly, Want to leave? Do you think that is possible? Yihua stretched out his right hand. His thumb and middle finger lightly touched each other. Then, snap. A finger snap appeared. Space was sealed. Xia Yang instantly felt the space was sealed. Right now he couldn't run out. Yang Yao and Shiryu also felt it. They couldn't stay calm. We are just watching the show, not participating in the battle. Don't do this. We are innocent. Senior, what is the meaning of this? Xia Yang couldn't help but ask. You actually asked such a stupid question. Of course, I won't let you go. Yihua said faintly. The intelligence of these people is really worrying. They actually asked why, my God. Then what do you want? Xia Yang asked in a deep voice. Feng Xiu's strength was on par with his. Feng Xiu was already beaten to this state. If it was him, the ending would be the same. Right now he couldn't fight recklessly with others. He had to find a chance to escape. Yihua tidied up the quilt on his legs. He didn't even look over and said faintly, I am in a very bad mood. If you can kneel down and worship me, I might be merciful. Kneel. This man actually asked a Do-Di to kneel. In Yang Yao and Shiryu's impression, there were only Do-Di who died in battle. There were no Do-Di who was born kneeling. End of this chapter. Chapter 851. Hearing Yihua's request, Xia Yang and Feng Xiu were stunned, but they were soon covered by anger. Are you trying to humiliate us? Xia Yang asked in a deep voice. This man was the most arrogant person he had ever seen. Even the palace master who was a dozun was not so arrogant. Even the meridian-breaking sect's leader and Shin Academy's dean were not so arrogant. Yihua patted the dust on the quilt and said softly, Since you already know, do you still want to ask? It is impossible for us to kneel. At most, we will fight with you together. Hearing Xia Yang's words, Yihua actually laughed. Fight with me? Can you let me take a breath? Or can you make me shed a drop of blood? Xia Yang and Feng Xiu's breathing became a little rapid. They were angered by Yihua. He actually made a dozun kneel, and even said that the two of them together couldn't hurt him. Where did his confidence come from? Yihua felt that this kind of trick should be over. He was not in the mood to continue arguing with them. After all, this was just a small scene. He would play with them in a big scene in the future. Yihua waved his hand, and the people standing in the void suddenly felt dizzy. Everyone felt that they were going to die. Yang Yao and sure you also felt the same. They were only here to watch the battle, not to cause trouble. But before they came back to their senses, their bodies had already lost feeling, and they all fell to the ground and fainted. Seeing this situation, Xiao Yang was a little confused. Originally, he thought that this man would kill them, but he only made them faint? What's going on? Yi Hua made these people faint because he didn't want them to see something. After all, if I show my strength, why would you people who are not afraid of death come to find me? As for why he didn't make these two people faint, because they won't be able to leave alive, so it can be ignored. Yi Hua slowly stood up and put the quilt on the wheelchair. Seeing this man stand up, Xia Yang and Feng Xiu were obviously surprised. Isn't he a cripple? Why did he suddenly stand up? If you think that you can hurt me together, then I will make you despair. The gap in strength is a hard wound that can't be changed. Me? This man actually called himself me. Is he a Dozun? Or, he is in Jizun. Just as the two of them were feeling puzzled, a terrifying aura came sweeping over. Xia Yang's eyes almost popped out. This aura. At this moment, blood was flowing from the corner of Feng Xiu's mouth. In the face of this terrifying pressure, he was completely unable to move. This man was telling the truth. Xia Yang used all his strength to raise his head and look at the man not far away. In Xia Yang's eyes, he saw many vengeful spirits hovering around, letting out mournful cries. However, they were all suppressed by the man's aura, and their faces were filled with horror. Feel my power. This is how you all show off after your deaths. Yi Hua said lightly, and his aura increased by a bit once again. The entire space was trembling. Thud. Xia Yang and Feng Xiu couldn't bear such pressure at all. Both of them knelt in front of Yi Hua. No matter how much they didn't want to kneel, they had to accept the fact that this man could kill them with one finger. He was not a Dozun. He was a supreme being. Just like the Broken Meridian sect and the Shun Academy, they all had supreme beings. Yi Hua said lightly, "It will be your honor to be able to kneel in front of me. After all, there are many people who don't even have the opportunity to kneel. Don't feel that this is a shame. This is a supreme honor, and it is also something that you can boast about in the future." The huge pressure made the two of them speechless. No wonder he could instantly subdue the mystical fire. It turned out that he was a supreme being. This was bullying. A supreme being actually bullied two Emperor Dozun, shameless. I know you are cursing in your hearts, but the Kangluo continent is a place where the weak are prey to the strong. Weren't you threatening others just now? Coincidentally, my strength is more powerful, so I can threaten you. Yi Hua said as he walked, gradually approaching the two of them. However, as Yi Hua approached, the pressure became stronger and stronger, and the two of them were directly pressed to the ground. It was as if the weight of the entire Kangluo continent was pressing on their backs, making it difficult for them to breathe. Raise your head. Yi Hua said lightly. Not knowing where they got the strength from, Xia Yang and Feng Xiu both raised their heads, and at this moment, Yi Hua's face suddenly changed. It turned into a skeleton face. Then, it changed back to its original appearance, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a trace of a smile. However, when Xia Yang and Feng Xiu saw this face, their expressions changed from bewilderment to shocking fear. This was a trembling from the bottom of their hearts. There was no fear of death in their eyes, and they were completely shocked by this face. They were all Emperor Dozun. How could they not know what happened 10 years ago? An undead started a massacre in the south. At that time, the south was like hell, and they were like locusts. Everywhere they passed by, there was not a single living person. Hearing such a thing, the people living in the north all felt lucky that they were not people from the south, and escaped the calamity. In the end, over 100 Supremes were mobilized to kill those undead. However, half of the Supremes died, which showed how terrifying the undead's strength was. But now they were told. The undead from 10 years ago didn't die. Furthermore, he was still standing in front of them, perfectly fine. How could they not be shocked? How could they not be afraid? Why didn't he die? Why did he come back? Furthermore, he came back in human form. You are the one from back then. Xia Yang didn't know where he got the strength to ask this question. Yi Hua didn't let Xia Yang finish his words. He said lightly. Yes, I am the one from back then. Is it an accident? Do you really want to spread this news and let everyone know that I am back? Indeed, Xiaoyang really wanted to go back and report this matter, but he couldn't do it. He regretted that he was too weak. But when he heard this man admit his identity, his face also turned gloomy. So, it is not unjust for you to die in my hands. I didn't lie to you, right? Xiaoyang and Feng Xiu lowered their heads. Indeed, it was better to die in the hands of such a super demon than to die in the hands of a nobody. At least in the future, people would find out that they, too, Emperor Dozun, had a great battle with this undead and were killed in the end. By the way, I did not appear for the mystical fire, because I have a lot of mystical fires. Yi Hua stretched out his finger, and colorful mystical fires appeared on his finger. Xiaoyang and Feng Xiu could clearly feel that their eyes were filled with shock and fear. He is back. He even became stronger. It's over. Kangluo continent is finished. God, why did you let this undead come back to life? Why did you let him come back to harm the Kangluo continent? God, you want to destroy my Kangluo continent. Damn it. I am not willing to die like this. End of this chapter. Chapter 852. Yi Hua let out a breath and looked at the night sky of Kangluo continent. The moon hanging in the sky was especially round. Coupled with the current scenery, it was like a bottle of top-notch red wine. Go in peace. In the future, there will be people who will help you take revenge. But don't expect too much. No, don't expect too much, because your ending will be the same as yours. Maybe you won't even have the chance to kneel and worship me. After speaking, Yi Hua turned around and left without looking at them again. Feng Xiu and Xiaoyang, who were absent-minded, immediately felt the pressure on their bodies getting heavier. They were actually suffocated to death by the pressure released. Even the two Supremes from Broken Meridian Sect and Shin Academy couldn't do it. After all, I am a doer. I want to kill a doer with pressure. Unless it's above Supremes. The two raised their heads and looked at the back of the figure that was getting further away. The shock in their eyes had already reached a peak. The undead is back. And its strength is even more terrifying than before. The future of Kangluo continent is finished. Bang. The huge pressure made the two lower their heads again. Their entire bodies were pressed on the ground. Blood could be seen coming out of Feng Xiu and Xiaoyang's skin. All of the veins on their bodies burst, but there was no scene of blood spurting out. The blood was all suppressed inside their bodies. Puff. The thickness of the two's body actually decreased. Their hard bones could no longer withstand the pressure, and started to break. The pain made the two wish that they could die immediately. But will Yi Hua let these two die so easily? They actually dared to make a move on my women. Don't they know that these women can't even bear to hit me? Alright, I will only dare to hit their butts. As the pressure increased again, the two were directly pressed into pancakes. However, after the two died, their primordial spirits appeared. The two glowing golden balls seemed to want to escape. They tried their best to bring the news of this place out. If they had the black pieces from Broken Meridian Sect, they would be much more at ease. Unfortunately, that kind of technique was monopolized by Broken Meridian Sect. Did Yi Hua not know that they had primordial spirits? Under such a strong pressure, primordial spirits couldn't escape at all. The two primordial spirits were once again suppressed by the violent pressure, and landed beside their corpses. Then, like their corpses, they instantly turned into golden pancakes and gradually dissipated. Xiaoyang and Feng Xiu no longer existed in this world. They completely disappeared. Yi Hua lightly waved his hand, and the barrier immediately dissipated. Yi Hua then floated down onto the pavilion. Master, have some tea. Daji respectfully served tea. Her master was simply too powerful, and she could only look up at his majestic back. Compared to her master, she was just a small dot on the stars, appearing so insignificant. Yehua, what did you say to them at the end that scared them half to death? Qingye asked curiously. Just now, it could be seen that they were really scared. That's right, brother-in-law. Why don't you tell us about it? How did you scare those two Dodi to the point that they peed their pants? Qing Yutong shook Yihua's arm and asked cutely. In this world, Only Qin Yutong would dare to shake Yihua's arm like this. Qin and Donghuang Baiji were both mature women, and they wouldn't act like a spoiled child like this. And Qin Yutong had always been treating herself as 18 years old, and was acting coquettishly and cute in all kinds of ways. I reckon that in the future, when she becomes more than 10,000 years old, she would still treat herself as an 18 years old little girl. We were just chatting casually. Who knew he would be so easily frightened? Yihua said faintly. I really didn't expect that just by revealing my skeletal face, I would be able to scare others to the point that they peed their pants. In the future, I have to reveal my skeletal face more often. I really like the expression on their faces when they peed their pants after being scared by me. It has already been 10 years since the incident happened, but it turns out that I still have such a position in their hearts. Interesting. Let's play big this time then. Hurry up and speak, don't keep us in suspense. Qin and Donghuang Baiji pressed Yihua onto the chair. It seems like if you don't speak properly today, we are going to quarrel with you. Actually, it's nothing much. I just revealed my identity to them. You all also know that I have a grudge against them, so they peed their pants from fright. Yihua said faintly. In his mind, he was currently preparing for a big matter, and he had just suddenly thought of this matter. Hearing Yihua's words, the wives finally understood. It seems like the Yihua in the past was also a demon king. If not, he wouldn't have been scared to death. We are going to head back right now. We are going to hold the annual meeting. This meeting is very important. Yihua said gravely. His tone seemed to be very urgent and very serious. Seeing that Yihua had become serious, the wives also became serious. After all, joking was one thing. Within the pavilion, Yihua instantly disappeared along with the 4 women. The pavilion that was floating in the air lost control, and directly fell onto the ground, shattering into pieces. Meanwhile, Yihua directly appeared in Wushu Empire's palace, and sat on the throne that belonged to him. Qin, Donghuang Baiji, and Qin Yutong, as the 3 empresses, sat on the left and right of Yihua. Daji had the identity of a maid, so she was only standing beside Yihua to serve him. However, this was also a kind of benefit. One must know that all of Yihua's subordinates were standing below, and only his wives were qualified to sit beside him. For Daji to stand beside him was already very lucky. Yihua immediately informed everyone to gather for the meeting. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, all of Yihua's subordinates stood respectfully below. When they saw Daji who was beside his honor, all of them were confused, except for Wei Chong. However, Mu Ran's figure wasn't within the crowd, because Mu Ran was still in a state of being deceived, and she didn't know that Wei Chong and the others were the emperor's subordinates. Other than Mu Ran, everyone else was present. Subordinate pays respect to your honor, pays respect to your honor's wife. Your honor's wife is blessed by a flood of fortune that illuminates the world. All of Yihua's subordinates bowed and kowtowed. Their lines were still the same, causing Yihua to feel a bit less fresh. However, this wasn't the main point. Get up. The reason why I called all of you here today is to announce something. Yihua said gravely. In actuality, everyone really wanted to know Daji's identity. Is she his honor's concubine? How did his honor coax your wife to actually make your wife agree to such a condition? Yihua seemed to know what his subordinates were thinking and said faintly, this person is called Daji. She is my female servant. Female servant? Is she the type of female servant that warms the bed? At the very least, that was what all of the men were thinking in their hearts. Look at that Daji's appearance, what the fuck? So flirtatious, coupled with that respectful attitude of hers. This kind of contrast really makes one unable to stop even if they want to. Other than Wei Chong, as long as they have a girlfriend, all of them would grab onto their man's waist. What are you looking at? Have you never seen a beautiful woman before? Do you want to change your girlfriend? If you want to, then just say it. When Yihua saw this scene, he felt helpless as well. Why are all of my subordinates being so henpecked by their wives? Where is your domineering attitude? Did they get eaten by dogs? Let's see if Qin and the others dare to be mischievous. If they don't listen, then scold them. If they don't listen, then beat them. If they still don't listen. End of chapter. Chapter 853. If I don't give them some benefits, I won't be able to appease them. Chinya was very satisfied with the women's actions. This is how I should teach them a lesson, lest they start a harem in the future. This was the first time Daji saw her master's subordinates, and she discovered that every single one of them was very strong. Daji immediately felt pressured. I have to train hard. After all, I am master's maid, and my strength definitely has to be high. The reason why I held the annual meeting this time around is to talk about my thoughts, and I want to hear your opinions. Yihua said. If it was in the past, I definitely wouldn't listen to other people's opinions. If I say that it is definitely going to happen, even if it isn't definitely going to happen, I will make it happen. The subordinates slightly lowered their heads and listened to Yihua. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were also very curious about what Yihua was going to say. Yihua was a person of action, and not a person who only focused on theories. If he thinks of something, he will do it. This is what a real man is like. I feel that humans and aliens should be able to coexist peacefully. Let's try it out in Wushu Empire. Yihua said gravely. Hearing Yihua's words, everyone went into a daze. Especially the 5 people of the 7 deadly sins. They don't have any good impression of humans at all. Towards the current situation, they only feel that His Honor is raising humans. However, after hearing what His Honor said today, it seems like His Honor is going to implement a benevolent policy. Is his brain fried? How can humans and aliens possibly coexist peacefully? In the tens of thousands of years of history of Kangluo continent, such a situation had never happened before. The 3 wives felt that their husband's idea was not bad. It turns out that Yihua is a good person, and he knows the importance of coexisting peacefully. However, Qinya and the others still underestimated Yihua's original intention. As an alien, Yihua naturally has to give benefits to aliens, and he can't keep giving benefits to humans. After all, in the past, I hated humans very much. The most important thing is that the aliens should be rising up, instead of hiding from them. When the time comes, I will wave the flag, and all of the aliens in Kangluo continent will gather in the north. And the south will be the humans. What will happen then? When humans fight against aliens, not only will there be aliens, there will also be humans. That will be an epic battle. Right now, Yihua was not only imagining that all of the aliens will gather together to resist the humans' invasion. Right now, Zhu Tian was still in cat form, and was currently being carried by Brett. However, Zhu Tian immediately understood His Honor's intention, and raised both of his hands in approval. If you all have something to say, then say it, don't hide it. When Yihua saw that his subordinates were hesitating and daring to say it, Yihua saw that his subordinates were hesitating. Lai Gu cupped his hands and said, Your Honor, how can it be possible for the other races to coexist peacefully with the humans? The humans hate the other races, and the other races hate the humans too. Wei Chong also took a step forward and said, Your Honor, right now Voidless Empire is gradually becoming more and more prosperous, and they have even established a merchant guild. If we were to allow outsiders to enter Voidless Empire, I'm afraid that the consequences would be dire. At this moment, even Yi Zizi stood up and said, Your Honor, the war between the humans and the mutated races in Kangluo continent has already been deeply rooted in people's hearts. I hope that Your Honor will reconsider. Yihua was originally in high spirits, and he was even fantasizing about how his subordinates were praising him for being wise. But in the end, you actually dared to go against my suggestion? Do you guys want to die? Is it because I don't show my might that you guys are getting arrogant? All of Yihua's subordinates could clearly sense His Honor's anger, and they immediately shrugged their shoulders. Honest words are unpleasant to the ears. Yihua said respectfully, Your Honor, we cannot be too hasty with this matter. We should do a market survey and see how much hatred the people living in Voidless Empire have towards the other races. Qinya also said tenderly, Yihua, we indeed cannot be too hasty with this matter. Right now, it is not easy for Voidless Empire to become more prosperous. If we were to rashly carry out this kind of order, it would cause dissatisfaction. Who dares to be dissatisfied? If they are dissatisfied, then drag them out and behead them. Yihua said coldly, This is so annoying. Even Qinya is against my suggestion. Zishan also said something fair. Your Honor, even if you give out the order, how are the other races going to trust you? Will they enter the city or not? Will they think that this is a trap? Although what these people said was reasonable, but it still made me feel very unhappy. The flames of excitement in my heart were instantly extinguished by cold water. Yihua, I have a candidate. Donghuang Baiji, who was sitting at the side, suddenly said. Who? Donghuang Baiji said. Muran. Hearing Muran's name, Yihua's eyes shone. Muran's influence in northern Liang was very big, and her position in the hearts of the people was also very high. Furthermore, Muran even had the title of saintess. What is the use of a saintess? Of course, it is for the heart of compassion. When Yihua thought of the heart of compassion, he immediately had a good idea. Right now, I need some subordinates with high acting skills. If I want to dispel the humans' thoughts towards the other races, I need to help each other. Back then, I had also won the Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Screenplay awards. Thinking up to here, Yihua felt that if they knew that what happened that day was fake, what would they do? Divorce? Run away from home? There are all kinds of possibilities. As long as Lai Gu doesn't reveal his true body, this matter will be able to pass by perfectly. It is best for me to not think about this matter for now. Your Honor, didn't you say that you would be distributing the missions after you came over? Why is it that a few months have already passed, and there is still no such thing? Right now, Yizizi was already feeling anxious from being bored, and she really wanted to go out and cause trouble. Qin Yutong, who was sitting below Yihua, had the same gaze. Those who want to cause trouble, come into the group. I haven't thought about it yet. I will distribute the missions in a few days. Yihua said faintly. You guys still want the missions? To actually go against my opinion just now, you guys sure have guts. After hearing that, Yizizi was a bit disappointed. However, at least this time, Yihua gave me a deadline in a few days. Just how many days is in a few days? Yihua, I will leave the matter of the public opinion survey to you. Today's meeting will end here. Oh right, there might be people coming over next, so make preparations for battle. Yihua said faintly. That Yuanyang Manor lost 2 Dodi, and I have already revealed their address. Those people who fainted will definitely speak about it, therefore, it is very normal for Yuanyang Manor to come over to take revenge. I really don't know if Yuanyang Manor will be able to put in enough effort this time, and also, what kind of method should I use to crush the other party? I, the Supreme Overlord, have to think about all of these things. This is really giving me a headache. Yes. All the subordinates shouted out respectfully. You guys can disperse. Yihua waved his hand. He planned to go and look for Muran to have a chat and see what she thinks. I will go and look for Muran to have a chat. You guys can wash up and wait for me on the bed. Yihua said with a slight smile. Qinya rolled her eyes at her husband. In your dreams, we will sleep in separate rooms, and you can go to whichever room you want to go to. Haha, that's right. How about we go to another room? Donghuang Baiji said jokingly. End of this chapter. Chapter 854. Yihua didn't pay any attention to her at all. Yutong, we will make our preparations tonight. Alright, brother-in-law, with Qin Yutong as an accomplice, is there still a need to be afraid of not being able to deal with them? Qin Yutong, you dare? Qinya glared at Yihua with her beautiful eyes. This traitor, back then he shouldn't have pushed Yutong to Yihua. Right now, the two of them are working together to bully others. SSSSSSSSS. Qin Yutong made a funny face, then ran out of the room. Most probably, Qin Yutong went to look for Yi Zizi to form a party. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. Seems like our way of thinking is wrong. Yutong's personality is unchangeable. Sai, as an elder sister, there must be something wrong with my brain. To actually push Yutong to Yihua, I regret it. Donghuang Baiji laughed. It's useless even if you regret it now. What's done cannot be undone. Sai, Qinya let out a long sigh, expressing her helplessness. However, at this moment, Yihua had already arrived at Muran's palace. Just when he walked into the palace, he saw Muran sitting on the swing in the garden and staring blankly at the moon, seemingly like she was thinking about her family. She didn't even notice that Yihua had walked up to her side. Cough. Yihua coughed lightly. Mu Ran was stunned. She quickly jumped off the swing and respectfully shouted, "Long live the Emperor!" "Get up." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Mu Ran respectfully stood at the side, looking quite pitiful. Her entire family had been killed, and now, she had no relatives left. Wei Chong had originally planned to tell Mu Ran the truth, but he was stopped by Tang Wei. If he told Mu Ran now, it would be like stabbing another knife into Mu Ran's wounds. Wei Chong thought about it and agreed, so he decided to talk about it in a few years. However, with Song Konghong by her side, Mu Ran's mood wasn't that bad. "It's all right." Yihua walked to the stone bench at the side and sat down. Mu Ran stood at the side and said respectfully, "Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Mu Ran is already much better." "That's good. Now I have something for you to do." Mu Ran was speechless. "Do you have to say that?" "Actually, it's not good. I was just being polite." "Please speak, Your Majesty. Take a seat." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yihua let out a breath, then asked faintly, "What do you think of humans and outsiders?" Right now, Yihua didn't know what to say to avoid being splashed with cold water later on. Humans and non-humans? Mu Ran was very confused. She didn't know what the Emperor meant by asking this. Could it be a test for her? It was said that the Emperor liked to ask his subordinates questions. If they answered well, he would praise them, but if they did not, he would scold them. "Idiots, you don't even know this." Therefore, Mu Ran felt that she had to behave herself and replied, "The hatred between humans and mutated races has existed for thousands of years. The two sides are like fire and water. I heard that the incident that happened in the South 10 years ago was also caused by a group of mutated races. The hatred between humans and mutated races has reached an unprecedented level. 10 years ago, this was something that I, the Supreme Overlord, was doing, and now, it was actually obstructing my footsteps. This is really Get up. Mu Ran, do you think human beings and non-humankind beings have a chance to coexist peacefully?" Yihua asked gravely. If even Mu Ran doesn't want to become the Holy Maiden of 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 the Holy Maiden. Mu Ran's eyes lit up. "My Emperor, it would be best if humans could live in peace with the mutated race. After all, there are good and bad people in the mutated race. Those bad guys from 10 years ago will definitely go to hell after they die." Yihua. F***CK, right now, there is a person who is scolding me to my face that I will go to hell after I die, and I am unable to do anything about it. Let's not talk about the incident that happened 10 years ago first. How do you think human beings should be able to live in peace with the mutated race? My Emperor, it is my dream to be able to let humans and non-humankind live in peace. Mu Ran will use my entire life to accomplish this. When Mu Ran spoke about this matter, his gaze became clear. Mu Ran seemed to have found a goal to live on. "I don't need you to use your entire life to accomplish this. I want you to accomplish this as soon as possible. Do you have the confidence to accomplish this?" Yihua asked gravely. "I still have to use my entire life to accomplish this? Where do I, the Supreme Overlord, have so much time to wait?" After hearing that, Mu Ran was startled and said hurriedly, "My Emperor, this is a huge matter, and it is impossible to accomplish it within a short period of time. Therefore, I have an idea right now, and with your identity, it will definitely be useful." Mu Ran felt that his brain was a bit lacking. This Emperor is always able to think of all sorts of weird things. Yihua said helplessly, "Mu Ran is still too young, and his thinking is not mature enough." Next, Yihua slightly arranged the plot of the plot. After hearing that, Mu Ran was dumbstruck. Is this even possible? Isn't this too? Mu Ran, what do you think? Yihua asked gravely. At the same time he used Doom's eyes, as if he dares to say no. Mu Ran said in a low voice, "My Emperor, your idea, this belongs to the category of deception." Mu Ran, why can't your brain think properly? For the sake of peace, what is this little bit of deception worth? Think about it. When humans and aliens appear in the entire voidless empire, just how great of a moment would that be? Our deception would be exchanged for peace, so what about it? Did I say anything wrong? Towards Yihua's crooked logic, Mu Ran was actually unable to find a point to refute. He felt that the emperor was too good at talking. Mu Ran, just give me an answer. Are you going to do it or not? If not, I don't need you anymore. Yihua snorted coldly. This Mu Ran needs to be stimulated a bit. No. I'll do it. Mu Ran naturally hoped to be able to see that kind of situation, but he still had to plan it properly. Perhaps it would really be like what the emperor said. In less than a year, the scene of humans and aliens coexisting in voidless empire would appear. It would truly be a great moment. Very good. From tomorrow onwards, we will plan it properly. Your identity is very important. For the sake of his dream, Mu Ran decided to give it his all. Mu Ran shall listen to my emperor's arrangements. Yihua smiled and stood up, then patted onto Mu Ran's head. Very good. I will be going back first. Respectfully send off my emperor. Looking at the back view of the emperor who was leaving, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Mu Ran's mouth. The emperor is such a good person, he is thinking for the sake of the world. If Mu Ran were to know of Yihua's true intentions, I wonder what kind of expression he would have. Right now, outside of Azure Dragon Empire, Yang Yao and Shiryu slowly woke up and shook their heads to clear their minds. Where are the people? Shiryu asked puzzledly. Palace Master, look over there. Hua Yang suddenly shouted out. Yang Yao and Shiryu looked over and saw two corpses that were placed together, and it was evident that the corpses were already lifeless. Yang Yao hurriedly ran over to take a look, and from the clothes, he could tell that the corpses were those two Do emperors. Such a result caused Yang Yao to take a step back. The two Do emperors from Yuanyang residence are actually dead. Shiryu, who was at the side, was also endlessly astonished. Those are two living and breathing Do emperors, and yet they were actually turned into flatbread. Just how terrifying is the strength required to be able to do such a thing? End of this chapter. Chapter 855. The group of subordinates also did not dare to believe it. Dodi was no small matter. A group of people surrounded the corpses of the two Dodi. That kind of gaze, and that kind of demeanor, was as though they were looking at rare animals. They were even discussing it. How do you think these two Dodi died? From the looks of the corpses, they should have been crushed by something. Are you stupid? What kind of thing could crush two Dodi to death? Maybe it was a heavyweight fatty. Yang Yao and Shiryu walked to one side and softly conversed. Their expressions were more serious. Yang Yao, how do you think they were killed? Shiryu was also extremely doubtful. Fainting at such a critical moment was definitely not something they wanted them to see. Yang Yao took a deep breath and said in a low voice. From the looks of the situation at the scene, there was not much of an impact. However, it caused the death of a Dodi. A powerful chi method does not seem to be able to do this. You mean that it was all based on the pressure that was released? Shiryu exclaimed. She felt that it was impossible to use pressure to crush two Dodi alive. What kind of strength would that require? Yang Yao shook his head. I also do not know. It is only a guess. Perhaps someone else knows some high-level chi methods, and could also cause such a situation. High-level chi method. Even with a high-level chi method, the person who killed two Dodi would at least have the strength of a Dozun. Shiryu involuntarily broke out in cold sweat when she spoke until this point. The man in the wheelchair was actually a Dozun. How was this possible? Could a Dozun be so low-key? However, when she thought of the four women, it was likely that only a Dozun was qualified to possess them. If she had displayed disrespect earlier, it was likely that she would have been killed by the man in the wheelchair. Now we should not be thinking about how these two Dodi died. Instead, we should deal with the Yuanyang mansion. Yang Yao exhaled. His eyes became even more serious. Hearing Yang Yao's words, Shiryu instantly understood. Two Dodi had died for no reason. Who would the Yuanyang mansion look for? It was likely that they were looking for them to ask about the situation. Yang Yao, there is no need to worry about this. After all, we did not kill them. Shiryu spoke in a relaxed manner. After all, with her own strength, she would not be able to kill two Dodi. She would only be killed by a Dodi. How would she have the strength to kill a Dodi? However, just as the two of them were discussing, a figure suddenly walked out of the void. Everyone couldn't help but raise their heads to look. It was a man wearing a gorgeous robe. His black hair was very soft and long, almost reaching his waist. A hazy expression appeared on his face as a terrifying aura bloomed from his body. He walked over step by step in the void. With every step he took, ripples would appear beneath his feet. Everyone made way for him, not daring to stand in his way. Shi Yu and Yang Yao stared blankly at the man who was walking towards them. What they were afraid of really happened. If his guess was right, this person should be the mansion lord of Yuanyang Mansion. Dozun Mu Xinhai. Mu Xinhai walked to the side of the two corpses and stared blankly at his left and right protectors. Not long ago, he had a bad premonition that something big had happened. Sure enough, something big had happened. Two of his protectors had actually been killed. Moreover, it was flattened. Even his primordial spirit didn't manage to escape. This murderer was actually so vicious. His intentions should be put to death. He could already see the torment his protector had suffered before his death. As the manor head, if he didn't give an explanation, it would be hard for the crowd to convince them. Also, who was the one who killed his protector? Mu Xinhai suddenly looked at Yang Yao and Shi Yu. The latter's legs were trembling. He even had the impulse to kneel down. Was this the aura of a Dozun? It was indeed powerful. Was it you? Mu Xinhai coldly questioned. Yang Yao hurriedly cupped his hands together and said, "Mansion Lord, it wasn't us. We were already like this when we woke up." "That's right, Mansion Lord. How could we have the strength to kill two Dodi?" Shi Yu hurriedly explained. Although Mu Xinhai was furious, he had not lost his reasoning. With the strength of these two peak Dozongs, they didn't have the strength to do so. Who was it? Tell me and I will spare your lives. It seemed that if he didn't tell them today, someone would definitely die. Yang Yao anxiously explained. We also don't know that cripple. He suddenly appeared when we were snatching the heavenly flame. That's right, Mansion Lord. That heavenly flame had directly flown into that person's hands. After that, the two protectors started fighting with him. After that, we were knocked unconscious by that man. When we woke up, we were already like this. Sure, you only wanted to protect his life now. This was a great Dozun. If he didn't explain clearly, what if he became angry out of humiliation and killed him? Who could he find to reason with? He was basically done for. Who was it? I don't wish to say it a second time. Mu Xinhai immediately unleashed a pressure. Everyone was sent flying by this pressure. After which, they were firmly pressed onto the ground. However, Yang Yao and Shi Yu were still able to endure it. The entire air seemed to be trembling. The two of them were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Mansion Lord, I heard him say that he came from what Wusu Empire. It is true. We really don't know anything. Shi Yu had the heart to cry. He felt that he had been tricked. Although that person didn't kill him, it was possible that he was killed by this Mansion Lord. This was the first time that Mu Xinhai had heard that a person from Wusu Empire was able to kill his protectors. Are you guys joking? Even if you want to lie, can you think about it? What Wusu Empire? Does a person from an empire have the ability to kill them? Mu Xinhai asked with a roaring voice. These two protectors were the core strength of Yuanyang Mansion. Now that they had died for no reason, the fighting strength of the entire Yuanyang Mansion had directly dropped. How could he not be angry? Mansion Lord, it is true. We can all testify. Hua Yang stood at the side and shouted. He knew that if he didn't explain what happened today, everyone present would probably die. Following Hua Yang's words, everyone started to follow him. After all, they all wanted to live. Although Mu Xinhai didn't believe it, he still wanted to see what kind of strength this Wusu Empire had to be able to kill his people. Where? Replying Mansion Lord, they are at Northern Liang. Shi Yu hurriedly said. He felt that Mu Xinhai was showing signs of letting up. Mu Xinhai took a deep breath and turned around to look at the two corpses. His body instantly disappeared from the spot. However, threatening words still drifted out in the air. If I find out that you guys dare to lie to me, You can just wait to be annihilated. Following Mu Xinhai's departure, the pressure on his body immediately dissipated. Everyone felt their body relax and felt much more comfortable. So dangerous, we nearly died. Sure, you felt that he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. In front of a dozun, he didn't even have the slightest chance to resist. End of this chapter. Chapter 856. Yang Yao was obviously scared out of his wits. Beads of sweat dripped down from his forehead, and his eyes revealed a frightened look. After a long time, Yang Yao said, "I'll go back first. I also need to go back to calm down. Too many things have happened today, and my brain can't process it all." Sure, Yu was the same. He had to go back and sort out his thoughts. Snatching a strange flame could cause such a thing to happen. It was really depressing. The two groups of people went back to their own homes to look for their mothers. However, Mu Xinhai was searching for Wusu Empire in the land of northern Liang. After asking around, he quickly found Wusu Empire. When he saw Wushu Empire for the first time, he was indeed shocked. Was this really an empire? The area it occupied was actually so large, and the outer city walls were actually hundreds of feet high. What kind of scourge and ferocious beast were they guarding against? Compared to his Yuanyang mansion, it was really nothing. This was a true empire. Mu Xinhai, who was standing in the void, felt very emotional. He even had an idea to simply take this place down and replace it. This type of grandeur was almost comparable to Broken Meridian sect and deity institution. The white-armored warrior standing on the city wall looked into the darkness. Mu Xinhai was hidden in the black clothes, but he could still feel the guards on the city wall looking at him. It was an illusion. How is it possible for a small guard to discover my presence? What a great Wushu empire! I, Mu Xinhai, have taken a liking to it. Wait for me to go back and make some preparations. Then, I will let you all witness the strength of Yuanyang Manor. He wanted to show the entire northern region the true strength of Yuanyang Prefecture. Just wait. Mu Xinhai disappeared into the night. However, this imperial guard also reported the news to Lai Gu. And very quickly, the news reached Lai Gu's ears. Right now, Lai Gu was currently listening to the moonlight playing the zither, and there were even 3 lovely wives serving him by his side. He was simply a big winner in life. To Lai Gu, this kind of life was too comfortable. Every day he would take a walk in the city with his wife, and at night he would listen to Yuhua's music. This kind of life was too enjoyable. I didn't expect this king to have such luck with women. It's simply unimaginable. Lai Gu received the news very quickly and started sizing up the surroundings by himself. Yuhua seemed to feel it too. Her hands stopped moving. Honey, what happened? A slightly more powerful fellow is sizing up Voidless Empire. Lai Gu said faintly. Actually, such a thing would happen after a period of time, but they only dared to observe from afar, and did not dare to take any action. All of them were cowards. However, I still have to report to his honor. Lai Gu used sound transmission to inform Yihua that a person had just appeared, and after sizing up Yihua, the person left. When Yihua received the news, he could roughly guess what was going on. It should be those people from Yuanyang Palace. He had killed 2 of their dodi. Moreover, he had told them the address. If no one came, he would really disappoint this venerable self. Looking at the situation, the attack from Yuanyang Palace is about to start. I am really looking forward to it. I hope that Yuanyang Palace will be able to do something. He didn't want to be annihilated by the Blood Tribe sisters like last time. He didn't even have the strength to retaliate. After walking into the bedroom, Yihua shouted out, "Yutong. Stop shouting, Yutong won't come over to help you. You can choose which bed you want to sleep on." Qinya sat on the bed and seemed to be planning to rest. She was wearing light pajamas, and that exquisite curve of hers was something that Yihua would never get tired of looking at 100 times. Yihua walked towards Qinya with a stern face, looking as if he was going to beat someone up. Qinya pouted her mouth. "What are you trying to do? If you dare to beat me up, I will immediately go and seek refuge with my son." Yihua couldn't hold it in anymore and laughed lightly. "Beat you up? How can I bear to do that?" Qinya poked Yihua petulantly. This bastard always likes to scare people. Yihua immediately hugged onto Qingya and carried her on his shoulders. Yihua, what are you doing? Put me down. Qingya's face immediately turned red. Don't you know what my husband is thinking? This guy is too overbearing. Yihua didn't pay attention to Qingya at all. While carrying Qingya on his shoulders, he walked towards Dong Huangbaiji's room. Yihua could be seen carrying two super beauties on his shoulders as he walked towards Qing Yutong's room. Just when Yihua opened the door, Qing Yutong called out with a smile, "Brother-in-law, everything is ready." Look, Yihua looked to the side. What kind of item is this? It seems a bit exciting. Qing Yutong, you better be careful in the future. Qingya saw it too, and her face turned red. This little sister of mine is simply unparalleled. Dong Huangbaiji also shouted out, Yihua, if you dare to do that, I will ignore you. Your Majesty, at the very least, you are someone who poses a high threat. If you act like this, I feel that you are acting coquettishly. After finished speaking, Yihua walked towards the bed. Qing Yutong closed the door, and Daji continued to stand guard outside. Not long later, moaning sounds could be heard coming from within the room. I really envy the madams. On the other side, Mu Xinhai returned to Yuanyang Manor. Yuanyang Manor was indeed a manor, but it wasn't within the empire. Instead, it was located in a sparsely populated forest. Yuanyang Manor was indeed rather big, but compared to Wushu Empire, it was simply many levels lower. However, this manor was indeed very big. After all, there were over 1 million disciples training in this manor. Without a huge place, how could it be possible for so many people to live in this manor? Walking into his own territory, all of the disciples had to obediently greet Yihua as manor master. Mu Xinhai walked into his own palace and sat on the main seat at the center of the palace while pondering. A scene couldn't help but appear in his mind. Wushu Empire has become mine. It is time for me to let everyone witness the strength of Yuanyang Manor. In the eyes of Yuanyang Manor, you are nothing. Even if I sacrifice 2 of my protectors, I will still be able to support the entire Yuanyang Manor, because I am a Dozun. As a powerful Dozun, what is it to take down a small city? Looks like there is a need for me to call some people over to have some fun, and let them see my strength. Mu Xinhai immediately sent out the invitations, and then prepared for the matters regarding the battle. When the disciples realized that the manor master had the intention to start the battle, they felt that it was inconceivable. However, they were still very excited in their hearts. I can finally start the battle. Soldiers are trained for a day, and now is the best time to start the battle. Very quickly, it was the second day. Mu Xinhai was preparing to welcome the 2 big shots. The 2 of them were at the peak of the Do Di realm. Under my invitation, the 2 of them will definitely listen to me. After all, their strength is right there. Sitting on the chair that was specially used by the manor master, Mu Xinhai was already rubbing his palms together. After preparing for a few more days, I will be able to set off. I am really curious about what the people in the city will think when I bring them to the entrance. Will they directly open the door and surrender? I am really curious. That kind of scene will definitely be very exciting. End of this chapter. Chapter 857. Venomous Serpent Sect Master, Shi has arrived. Broken Moon Valley Master Xiang Li has arrived. 2 middle-aged men walked in with smiles on their faces, as if they didn't know that the Yuanyang Palace had lost 2 protectors. Greetings, Manor Lord. Xiang Liren greets the Manor Lord. This was the difference in strength. Even if it was just a little, he would still need to be respectful. This was a Dozun. At the south side of Aoyuo River, these 3 sects could be considered to be able to be brought to the stage, and they were just following the rules. Please take a seat. Shi and Xiang Liren sat on either side of him. Shi asked curiously, Manorhead, I see that your Yuanyang Manor is about to make a move. Are you going to attack something? What can we do for you? Xiang Liren asked with a faint smile, seemingly trying to curry favor. Mu Xinhai laughed. You must be joking. I invited you over this time just to watch a show. Xiang Liren and Shi were confused. Watch a show? It couldn't be that simple, right? Mu Xinhai gradually retracted his smile and said in a deep voice, "Two of my protectors were killed at Aluo River yesterday." What? What? Xiang Liren and Shi stood up abruptly, unable to believe what they had just heard. They were naturally aware of the strength of the two protectors from the Yuanyang mansion. They were both Dodi. Although their ranks were not high, they were still Dodi. How could he have died in a place like Aluo River? Right now, I only heard that the murderer is in Voidless Empire. Thus, I intend to go and take revenge. I will flatten the entire Voidless Empire. Mu Xinhai's body emitted a vast killing intent, and the two of them could sense this hatred. It didn't seem like he was lying, and there was no need to lie about such a thing. Academy Chief, what exactly happened? Shuri asked curiously. A Dodi died just like that? This was way too fake. Mu Xinhai didn't hide anything now. Yesterday, I sent them to the Aluo River to snatch the mystical fire. In the end, they encountered an even more powerful person and were killed. By the time I arrived, it was already too late. Is that person in Voidless Empire? Why haven't we heard of it before? Xiang Liren asked curiously. How could he recognize someone who could kill a Dodi? However, he had never heard of this Wusu Empire. Mu Xinhai replied in a deep voice, I've never heard of it before, but I went to take a look yesterday. There's indeed such a place in northern Liang. A remote and desolate place like the land of northern Liang? Shuri chuckled with deep sarcasm. The land of northern Liang was indeed a remote and desolate place in the north, and some of the big sects looked down on it. In the beginning, Mu Xinhai also thought so, but when he saw Wushu Empire, only then did he realize that Wushu Empire is the real tycoon. Mansion Chief, have you thought about something? The one who killed the two protectors is also an expert of the Dozun class? Shuri reminded. After all, from the looks of it, Mu Xinhai wanted to drag the two of them over. However, if the other party was really strong, even Shuri wouldn't be able to handle it. How could Mu Xinhai not have thought of this? Don't worry, I even called Fanjin. Mu Xinhai wasn't a fool. How could he not call for reinforcements? Fanjin. Hearing these two names, the two of them were shocked once again. Mansion Chief, are you talking about that mysterious Fanjin? Xiangli found it hard to believe. It was said that this Fanjin had already reached the peak of the Dozun class, and he was only a small step away from the Jizun class. It had been a long time since he appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Today he actually managed to invite Fanjin over. How could they not be shocked? That's right, it is this mysterious Fanjin. Mu Xinhai smiled slightly, appearing as though victory was already within his grasp. Shuri asked curiously, Mansion Chief, I heard that this Fanjin is very difficult to invite. It is so difficult to even find him. How did you do it? Oh, I helped him once in the past. That's why I am asking him for a favor this time around. Mu Haixia did this as a form of insurance. She felt that it was necessary. After all, the other party had killed two Dodi, and his strength was definitely at the Dozun class. With Fanjin around, they would definitely be able to suppress him. Hearing such certainty, the two of them were relieved. With Fanjin taking action, there was basically no need to worry. Mansion Chief, have you investigated the guards of Wushu Empire? Xiangli seemed to be more experienced. After all, this was just a precaution. Speaking of guards, Mu Xinhai recalled the guard from last night. That guard seemed to have taken a glance at him. That was definitely an accident, or perhaps it was a misconception. How could a guard possibly notice me? I am really thinking too much. You all can be at ease. How strong can the guards of an empire be? This time around, we will let those people from northern Liang see the consequences of angering my Yuanyang prefecture. We will kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Mu Xinhai was very arrogant. It seemed like he wanted to wipe out the entire Wushu Empire. Xiangli and Shuri stood up, cupped their hands and said, Then we wish Mansion Chief a great victory. Thank you, the two of you. Men, bring the two esteemed guests to rest. Xiangli and Shuri walked out of the palace hall and followed a disciple to the living quarters. After the disciple left, the two of them sat on a chair and chatted softly. Why do I feel that this is so unreliable? Xiangli frowned slightly and said, Going to such a faraway place to attack for no reason at all. Isn't this a little too exaggerated? Shuri narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "This is understandable. After all, 2 Dodi have died. Pulling everyone out to train is also to raise their fighting strength, and also for revenge. But what does he mean by calling us over? I really don't understand." Shuri laughed softly and said, "What else can he mean? He just wants to show off his strength in front of us. Look at him, he even called Fanjin. Do you think we can call such a person? Sigh, I really have to give up. Why is he acting cool in front of us? If he goes and kicks a metal plate, it will be a good show," Xiangli casually said. Shuri smiled and shook his head after hearing that. "If you can get it right, then your mouth will be opened. All of us will die." Xiangli hurriedly blew away this bad prediction. However, he did not expect that his prediction was indeed correct. Kicking a metal plate was painful. Getting injured was a small matter, but dying was the most important thing. Alright, let's not think too much. Just treat it as giving them some face and shocking the scene. Shuri was quite open-minded. No matter how powerful the northern Liang land was, it was only SOSO and could not be too powerful. Xiangli nodded and did not say anything else. 3 days passed very quickly. All the disciples of Yuanyang Manor were mobilized together, and the number of people had reached 1 million. These 1 million people were all elites, with the lowest being a rank 5 doja. As long as they attacked the city, these people would be like leeches. Over 1 million disciples boarded the battleships. In the sky, there were 10 huge battleships. End of this chapter. Chapter 858. The size of these battleships was several times larger than the one from the Tianliang sect. Each battleship could seat 100,000 people. This time around, the Yuanyang mansion had mobilized 1 million people. It could be considered a large-scale operation. Such a situation had not occurred in the northern region for a long time. However, the news of the Yuanyang mansion moving out had spread during these few days. It had caused quite a commotion. Mobilizing so many people to attack an empire was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. Perhaps, they felt that the Yuanyang mansion was displaying their strength. That was why they had created such a huge commotion. Even the Ren King prison and 3 Absolute Hall in Aoyuo knew about this news. Yang Yao and Shiryu also planned to go and take a look. After all, this was a battle of the Yuanyang mansion. Although their strength was a little weaker, they were at the peak of the Dozone class. It was possible for them to handle some small matters. The main point was that they could form a relationship with the Yuanyang mansion. It would be useful for their future development. The 10 battleships majestically headed to the north. Along the way, some smaller battleships joined in. This was also a form of respect. The battleship at the front was naturally Mu Xinhai's. He stood at the front of the battleship and looked down at the land. This feeling was very good for Mu Xinhai. It was as if he could cover the sky with his hand. Dozun. If he could step into the ranks of the Jizun, he would also be able to become a godlike existence. How happy would that be? In a while he would be able to display his glory in the northern region. He would let everyone see the consequences of offending the Yuanyang mansion. Even a Dozun would have to kneel before him. Looking at these factions in the northern region, all of them were following behind him. Only a person as strong as him was worthy of such support. At this moment, Mu Xinhai was filled with pride. It was as if he could already see the Wushu Empire falling under his feet. He did not even need to sacrifice a single person. Yang Yao and Shiryu were also behind the large group. They had merely driven a small battleship over as a gesture. After all, both parties had suffered heavy losses a few days ago. They were currently recuperating. Looks like the Yuanyang mansion is getting serious this time. Yang Yao and Shiryu stood on the deck and looked at the enormous battleship. They were extremely envious. This was the aura of a large sect. However, others had 10 such battleships. As for them, they only had 1. Moreover, they were unwilling to use it for fear of destroying it. Yang Yao took a deep breath. Yeah, I haven't seen such a battle for many years. I feel that Wushu Empire is finished. With the appearance of a Dozun, he will definitely flatten it. It was as if sure you could already see the flames of gunpowder burning in Voidless Empire. This was going to be a perfect massacre. Feast of Death. In Voidless Empire, this morning was the same as usual. Everyone woke up from their dreams and began their busy day. However, after seeing such a flourishing city, no matter how tired I am, it will be worth it. I must buy a house. Right now, Lai Gu was patrolling the city gate tower as usual, and he was still wearing his pajamas. He was yawning nonstop, seeming like he didn't sleep well. With 4 such beautiful wives, it would be strange if he could sleep well. Lai Gu let out a sigh of relief. Yu Hua is really becoming more and more sensible. This feels great. Just when Lai Gu was standing on top of the city wall and reminiscing, a few black dots appeared on the horizon. Lai Gu thought that his eyesight was blurred and rubbed his eyes with all his might. A lot of black spots had indeed appeared in his eyes. F***ckme. Lai Gu couldn't help but curse inwardly, and his entire body was trembling. This was not a trembling of fear, but of excitement. Something big had happened. This is too great. Don't make a sound, don't tell anyone to listen. I will deal with this group of people myself. At this time, his honor shouldn't have woken up yet. As a qualified subordinate, it is perfectly normal for me to help his honor with his honor's worries. There is no need for me to disturb his honor for such a small matter. If Yi Hua were to find out about this, he would definitely stew Lai Gu. I, the Supreme Overlord, have painstakingly put in so much effort just to create a big scene. And yet, I actually didn't come to report to you. All of the white-armored warriors did not have the slightest bit of extreme reaction, and they appeared to be very ordinary. Even the city gate was still open. This guy is simply not putting these people in his eyes at all. Meanwhile, on the battleship, when these people saw the magnificent Voidless Empire, they were all stupefied. Is this really an empire and not some big sect? The height of that city wall is too exaggerated, right? And that color. Are you afraid that others won't know that you are rich? Xiang Liren and Shi Yi were also stupefied. They seemed to have already understood why Mu Xinhai mobilized so many people. From the looks of it, Yi Hua has taken a fancy to this city and wants to take it for himself. It is a pity that Mu Xinhai discovered it first. If I was the one who discovered it first, I would have been able to secretly take it down. Yang Yao and Shi Yi were also stupefied. This was the first time they had seen such an empire, and it simply refreshed their understanding of empires. This is too spectacular. This is the first time I have seen something like this. Shi Yi was shocked to the point that she couldn't even describe it with words. That slightly opened mouth, that astonished gaze, and that trembling pair of hands. It was as if she wanted to hug the entire Voidless Empire into her embrace. Although Yang Yao didn't say anything, greed could still be seen in his eyes. If I was the one who discovered this place first, I might have already taken it down. An evil smile appeared on the corner of Mu Xinhai's mouth. Today, this place shall belong to my Yuanyang Palace, and no one shall even think of touching it. Whoever dares to touch it shall die. As the battleship advanced forward, it arrived at a place not far away from Voidless Empire and stopped. Mu Xinhai saw a strange man. He seemed to be wearing a thin robe, and he was standing on top of the city wall and looking at the city. Why is that hairstyle so strange, and it is even split in the middle? That man has a dazed expression on his face. I reckon that he was just scared silly by Mu Xinhai's troops. Some ants sure have a lot of expressions on their faces. It is best if they kneel down and submit, then open the city gate. The city gate is actually open. Mu Xinhai couldn't help but laugh out loud. So it turns out that they were all scared silly, to the point that they even forgot to close the city gate. What a bunch of trash. Xiang Liren and Shi Yi, who were standing behind Mu Xinhai, were very puzzled as well. It can't be that these people were scared silly, right? Be careful, it might be a trap. Xiang Liren reminded. Mu Xinhai waved his hand. They are just a bunch of clowns. There is no need to be afraid. Men, come. Go over and greet them. A disciple could be seen respectfully receiving the order. And very quickly, the disciple landed in front of the city gate. Standing on top of the city gate gave one a feeling, but only when one was standing below the city gate did one realize just how tall the city gate was. Listen up. You guys have already been surrounded. Quickly put down the weapons in your hands, if not. Before the disciple could finish speaking, his expression became strange, and his face seemed to have become red. Mu Haixia slightly wrinkled his brows. Could it be that these people dare to kill my disciple? Do they not want to live anymore? When the time comes, don't blame me for massacring the entire city. The commoners inside the city will definitely be scared to the point that they are trembling. However, within the city, all of the commoners were walking back and forth on the streets. They didn't put the matter to heart at all, and they were even laughing and discussing with each other. End of chapter. Chapter 859. He saw an old man sitting in a tea stall, talking quietly. Sigh, another bunch of people who have come to die. Yeah, I don't know what these people are thinking. Do they have nothing better to do? What else can they think? They probably think that our voidless empire is easy to bully. That's right, but they never expected to bump into an iron plate this time. As soon as he said that, everyone in the tea stall laughed. Even though the city gates were still open, there were still people passing by. They didn't care about what was happening outside at all. This was also the trust that the people had towards Wushu Empire. They believed that Wushu Empire was powerful. And this was something that Yi Hua did very well. A powerful empire needed to let the masses have this kind of consciousness. If even the masses thought that you were incapable, then you wouldn't be able to survive. At this moment, Mu Xinhai's expression gradually turned solemn as he looked at the disciples who were gradually walking back. Palace Lord, save, save. Before the disciple could finish his words, bang! His entire body suddenly exploded, and a bewitching bloody mist blossomed in the air, shocking everyone. Mu Xinhai wasn't able to adapt to this. Initially, he didn't think that he would need to sacrifice a single person to conquer Voidless Empire. Now one of them had died before they even started. Wasn't this the same as slapping his own face? Letting others see him as a joke? Lai Gu, who was standing on top of the city wall, grinned, then shouted towards the other side. The people on the other side, listen up. You are already surrounded by death. To your right is the spectator stand. If you don't want to die, you can stand there. I'll treat you as a spectator. After finished speaking, Lai Gu waved his hand and 3 big words appeared. In the spectator stands. Lai Gu understood his honor's intention. For something like this to happen, the outcome would definitely be that all of them would be exterminated. However, the news of all of them being exterminated had to be brought out by someone. Therefore, Lai Gu still had to keep some of them alive. However, they couldn't leave him alive after the fight. They had to shout now. Because only smart people would do smart things. Fools would only be accompanied by death. Lai Gu's way of doing things made Mu Xinhai a bit surprised. This person, how audacious of him. To actually say such words, it seems like you don't know how powerful I am. To actually set up a spectator stand at the side. Why don't you just call it a life-saving stand? This is simply an insult to me. Up until now, he hadn't seen an army gathering. This kind of empire was only SOSO. Xiang Liren and Shi quietly retreated a few steps. What should we do? Xiang Liren was a little uncertain. This voidless empire was very strange, and he was really afraid that Mu Xinhai had kicked a metal plate. If that happened, he would be done for. Shi said softly. Don't worry. Didn't the prefecture master say that there's still Fan Jin? As long as there's a Ji Zun here, we'll be safe. As long as there isn't a supreme being. What if there is a supreme being? Do we have to die with him? Xiang Liren started to waver. His intuition told him not to stand there, but to stand in the audience seats. Shi asked doubtfully. What's wrong with you today? Why are you so paranoid? Up until now, that Fan Jin still hasn't appeared. What if he doesn't appear? How do you know if he's telling the truth or not? Is Fan Jin really that easy to invite? Don't tell me you want to go to the audience over there, Shi said in a low voice. Xiang Liren didn't say anything. He was making a decision in his heart. Should he go or not? This feeling was like making a choice for his life. Which side should he listen to? It wasn't just Xiang Liren and Shi. Yang Yao and Shi Yu were the same. Yang Yao, I don't think we should get involved in this mess. Shi Yu felt a bit uneasy. Just a moment ago, that disciple exploded just like that, and at that moment, Shiryu felt that his entire body wasn't feeling good. Doing something like that is undoubtedly provoking Yuanyang manner. Today's slaughter was unavoidable. As for the massacre at the beginning, to hell with it. He didn't even know what method he used to kill a disciple, and he was still thinking of slaughtering them. If he were to be slaughtered later, he would suffer a calamity as well. Therefore, right now, other people have given me a chance to survive, should I grab it or not? That was the real problem. However, Yang Yao didn't have the same thoughts as Shiryu. He said lightly, "If you want to go, no one will stop you." Yang Yao still wanted to ride on Yuanyang Prefecture's coattails. This was also a gamble that Yuanyang Prefecture would win. As long as Yuanyang Prefecture won, he would also get some benefits. Shiryu was currently thinking frantically. That night, that man killed 2 Dodi. He was definitely a Dozun. Moreover, this Mushinhai was also a Dozun. If they were to fight, it would be difficult to predict the victor. This kind of battle was not something that a Dozong like him could participate in. Thus, he had to make his choice as soon as possible. However, Shiryu was still hesitating right now, because he didn't know if his choice was right or not. Lai Gu, who was standing on top of the city wall, was a little impatient. "All of you are not afraid of death. I will give you all another 10 seconds. Lai Gu shouted out. After Mu Xinhai heard what Lai Gu said, he was a little puzzled. What the hell is 10 seconds? Lai Gu began counting down. 10, 9, 8. Over 1 million people were listening to Lai Gu's countdown, but only 2 people were able to hear it. And that was Xiang Liren and Shiryu. They knew that the other party was giving them one last chance, forcing them to make a choice. 3, 2. Xiang Liren and Shiryu almost wanted to curse out. Just now, I clearly counted to 8. Why did it suddenly jump to 2? Shameless. Mu Xinhai shouted out towards Lai Gu. Stop shouting. Since no one is going to go, why don't we fight to our heart's content, and let you all know how powerful my Yuanyang Prefecture is. Wait till I flatten your Wushu Empire. I will let you all kneel in front of me and count down your lives. However, when Lai Gu counted to 1, 2 figures could be seen flying out from the huge group. Mu Xinhai sensed it, and his expression instantly darkened. I feel that my face is very painful. These 2 bastards. Why didn't you come out earlier? Why did you only come out after I shouted out? Aren't you 2 slapping my face? I want to see who it is. After I get rid of Wushu Empire, I will get rid of the 2 of you. When Mu Xinhai saw that the person who left was Xiang Liren, he felt very uncomfortable. This is the person that I called over. And now he actually ran out. Are you King sick? Don't you know my strength? To actually choose to run to the spectator stand to save his life. As for the other person, Mu Xinhai forgot who he is. He is just a small character. Even if he is just a small character, I will still kill you all later on. Towards Xiang Liren and Shiryu running away, everyone let out mocking laughter. These 2 trash were actually scared away by the other party. This is truly embarrassing. However, what everyone did not know was that Xiang Liren and Shiryu had made a wise choice. When Shiryu saw that Xiang Liren actually ran away, he felt helpless in his heart. No matter what, you have the strength of a peak Emperor Do, and you were actually scared away. If this matter were to spread out, how are you going to raise your head? Your Broken Moon Valley will become a joke. End of this chapter. Chapter 860. Yang Yao also sighed softly. This Shiryu was still too young and couldn't withstand a scare. The other party had merely shouted a number, yet he had been frightened away. That valley chief was also the same. His strength at the peak of the Dodi class was also frightened. I'm really impressed. Xiang Liren and Shiryu stood alone on the side, accepting everyone's mockery. Of course they didn't feel good. But since he had already escaped, he had to accept the consequences. Especially when they saw Mu Xinhai's eyes, Xiang Liren and Shiryu could feel that he was planning to kill the 2 of them. Therefore, right now they could only hope that Voidless Empire would be able to withstand the damage. When Lai Gu saw 2 people flying out, he was a little shocked because these 2 people were very smart. However, there were over 1 million people here, and there were only 2 smart people. The ratio was frighteningly low. The people of the Kangluo continent were indeed fools. Praise should be given. Who are the two of you? You have made the most glorious choice in your life. You will be proud of this. Along with Lai Gu's words, Xiang Liren and Sure you could no longer laugh. Your voidless empire had better bring out some of your strength. At the very least, close the city gate. Do the emperor know that you all are so careless? Mu Xinhai narrowed his eyes slightly. In the face of such humiliation, he had to use a battle to redeem himself. Otherwise, even if his army was defeated, it would still be a humiliation that could not be washed away. You all dare to fight? Mu Xinhai shouted towards Lai Gu. F***ck, there's actually someone who dares to challenge this king. How daring! However, just when Lai Gu was about to reply, he actually heard the sound of footsteps coming from the stairs, and his expression immediately turned bad. Someone is coming. Who is it? Who dares to snatch this king's chance to act cool? When Mu Xinhai saw that the other side's commander was panicking, he immediately laughed out loud. Haha, that's all. Xiang Liren and Sure you both had the heart to die. Big brother. What kind of expression is that? Can you change to a more confident expression? Even if it's just for show, please, can't you give us a little more confidence? Do you know how much courage it took for us to rush out? Don't lie to us. Xiang Liren and Sure you looked at Mu Xinhai, only to find that he was grinning at them. My God, don't play with us like this. Where did your imposing manner go just now? Could you please reveal a bit more? Lai Gu didn't care about it at all. Listening to that slight footstep sound, who is it? If it were those underlings, they would definitely listen to him and not disturb him. But if it was one of the 7 deadly sins, then it was hard to say. Hearing the slight footsteps, Lai Gu dared to conclude that the person walking in front of him was a female. Of the 7 deadly sins, Yizizi and Brett were both female. Brett took care of absolute heaven every day, so how could she have the time to fool around outside? Please don't let it be Yizizi. God bless me. Buddha bless me. Big bone dragon, what are you doing? Hearing that familiar voice, Lai Gu felt despair. When this expression fell into the eyes of the million people, they immediately burst into laughter. This was the expression of a person who was about to die. Not only was Lai Gu in despair, Xiang Liren and Sure you were also in despair. This kind of despair did not have any seasoning added to it. It was the original taste. Wow, there are so many people. Yizizi exclaimed while covering her mouth. Lai Gu ran to Yizizi's side, then pushed Yizizi down the stairs. Zizi, be good. It is still early, quickly go back and sleep. Yizizi pursed her lips. All right, I will go and wake his honor up. Lai Gu. Zizi, are we brothers? Lai Gu asked gravely. Am I good to you? Good. Then can you go back and sleep? Not good. Lai Gu. My good Zizi, what exactly do you want? Lai Gu gave in. Why did I have to meet Yizizi? It would be better if I met other women. Yizizi grinned and said, Of course I want to play. Do you want to play by yourself? Without a choice, Lai Gu could only compromise. Let's make a deal then, you can't act shamelessly. And I won't act shamelessly. Yizizi's pair of scarlet eyes revealed a hint of craftiness. Lai Gu could only believe in Yizizi for the time being, and his complexion gradually returned to normal. This caused Xiang Liren and Sure you who were not far away to feel relieved. This is exactly the kind of expression that should be filled with killing intent. Relieved. But who is this little girl? Just now, this man seemed to be very afraid of her. This is truly strange. Could it be that this little girl is an expert? However, I can't see how she is an expert at all. Isn't she just a little wimp? Yizizi could be seen falling down from the sky, and Lai Gu was stupefied. I haven't even said who is going to be the first round, and you are already jumping down just like that. Looking at Yizizi jumping down just like that, Xiang Liren and Sure you felt unwell. Your Wushu empire is so big, could it be that there is no one else? To actually send a little girl to fight against me, you should at least send an adult. My God, are you guys trying to make us anxious to death? Such a cute little girl is actually going to die. I really can't bear to see this happen. And me. I am going to die soon as well, my God. Don't treat us like this. Yizizi stood on the snowy ground and stared at the millions of people in front of her. Then said with a smile, Who is going to play with me? Send someone powerful. Of course, Mu Xinhai wouldn't go up himself. How can the main commander go up in the first round? Only when the main commander is unable to handle the situation will the main commander be able to go up. However, Mu Xinhai didn't expect that the other party would actually send out a girl. This girl is really no different from a child. Who is willing to fight on my behalf? Mu Xinhai shouted gravely. Me. Yang Yao could be seen suddenly standing out, then floating in front of Mu Xinhai while cupping his hands and saying respectfully. Looking at Yang Yao's way of doing things, sure you felt helpless as well. Why do you have to be so anxious? Just look at the situation first. Right now, we don't even know how strong the enemy is. Yang Yao's thinking was very simple. Right now is the best time to gain the enemy's trust. Alright. If we win this battle, your name will be left in the history. Thank you, Palace Master. Yang Yao was happy in his heart. Seems like my decision is correct. For Yang Yao to be able to do such a thing, he completely treated Yi Zizi as a girl. Thinking how strong a little guy could be. Using a little guy to gain the Palace Master's trust, it is very worth it, it is not a loss at all. And instead, it is a huge profit. Just now, Shuri also wanted to fight, but in the end he still hesitated, which was why Yang Yao got ahead of him. However, Shuri didn't really take it to heart, but now that there was a chance for him to perform. After Yang Yao received the order, he flew towards Yi Zizi and stood not far away from Yi Zizi. Yang Yao, don't kill nameless people. Report your name. I will let you die happily today. Yang Yao could be seen summoning out his tomb spike and preparing to use all sorts of drills. End of this chapter. Chapter 861. Yi Zizi twirled her ponytail with her slender fingers and smiled. No need to introduce yourself, I am not interested in your name. In any case, I will not be able to see you later. Boasting shamelessly. Watch my thorn. Yang Yao shouted angrily, trying his best to display his strength so that Mu Xinhai would take a fancy to him. A silver thorn instantly condensed in Yang Yao's right hand and exploded with quite a bit of aura. The thorn was even emitting a faint blue light. With one look, one could tell that it was a weapon that had been tempered thrice. This Yang Yao is not bad. He has even tempered a primordial godly weapon thrice. Mu Xinhai said after seeing. Shi, who was standing behind, smiled and said, for a person at the peak of the Dozong realm, it is already not easy to temper a primordial godly weapon thrice. This Yang Yao's potential is indeed not bad. It is indeed not bad. Let's see if he can defeat his opponent. Mu Xinhai said faintly. If this Yang Yao can help me regain some face, there will still be a reward, but if not, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Your benevolent king prison will no longer exist. In the arena, the thorn in Yang Yao's hand directly pierced towards the space between Yi Zizi's eyebrows. The explosive speed of his body caused people to be speechless. This had definitely surpassed the strength of the peak of the Dozong realm. The snow on the ground flew into the sky under this violent aura, instantly forming a beautiful picture. Although Yi Zizi appeared a little lazy, she was still very happy in her heart. Finally, someone came. This is simply too great, otherwise, I would have been suffocated to death. Although this is trash, I can still play with it and entertain my mood. After all, there is not even chicken dinner in this world. It is really boring. Seeing the opponent attack, Yi Zizi's delicate body suddenly jumped back, as if she was escaping for her life. This scene caused Shi Yu and Xiang Liren to have the heart to die. Since she knew that she had to escape for her life, why did she come down just now? Got it. She must have been pushed down just now. Yi Zizi dodging backwards made Yang Yao even more violent. He only retreated because he believed that Yi Zizi could not handle it. Deep drill. Yang Yao shouted, and the thorn actually began to spin crazily, bringing along a snowflake as it attacked towards Yi Zizi. Over 1 million people heard the name of this move, and at least half of them revealed astonished expressions. It seemed that half of them were experienced players. Shi sighed softly. Why did Yang Yao have to come up with such a weird name? It really made people blush with shame. Moreover, he had to shout it in front of millions of people. Fortunately, he didn't shout that move. Toxic Dragon Drill. Facing this sudden deep drill, Yizizi actually stretched out her small palm. Yang Yao could even see the lines on Yizizi's palm. She actually used her palm to block my deep drill. She was simply courting death. Huh. Hearing Yang Yao's shout, a wave of qi immediately dispersed in all directions. His aura rose once again, and a dazzling light burst out from his tomb. Sure, you couldn't help but continue watching. Oh my god. How did you block it with your palm? Although Yang Yao's name was very dirty, its power couldn't be underestimated. When Mu Xinhai saw this scene, he also revealed a sinister smile. This little girl was really naive. However, Shi, who was standing at the back, didn't think so. Just now, this little girl had clearly taken the initiative to come down. And looking at that guy now, he didn't have the slightest bit of worry. This could only mean one thing. This little girl was not as simple as she thought. Perhaps, this Yang Yao was finished. Bang! A huge wave of qi exploded in front of the city gate. The snow on the ground all melted, and the scene became blurry for a moment, causing people to be unable to see the result clearly. Xiang Liren and Shi stared at each other, and they were shouting in their hearts. Don't die. If you die, we will also die with you. The corner of Mu Xinhai's mouth curled up into a smile. Although there was a huge gap between me and a peak dozong, this kind of attack had already reached the level of a rank 1 Do Emperor. Receiving the attack with his hand without wearing any defensive equipment, the result was already very obvious. That arm is definitely gone, I Mu Xinhai am 100% sure. However, just when Mu Xinhai was 100% sure, the smile on the corner of his mouth gradually fell, and his gaze also became shocked. Not only Mu Xinhai, Shi, who was at the back, also revealed a shocked gaze. Just now it was all just a guess, but only after seeing this scene with his own eyes, did he know that it was really very shocking. Xiang Liren and Shi were also shocked, but after the shock, the two of them actually let out cheers. This made them even more astonished. Looking at the over 1 million people who were as silent as death, only Xiang Liren and Shi's cheers could be heard, as if they were the cheerleaders of the other party. To Xiang Liren and Shi, they should indeed be cheering. After all, they had handed all of their hopes to Wushu Empire. And if Wushu Empire was unable to hold on, they would also die. However, right now, this is too great. That little girl actually grabbed onto the sharp end of the mausoleum spike. Indeed, Yizizi's left hand grabbed onto the sharp end of the mausoleum spike that was spinning crazily, and the corner of her mouth even carried a trace of an arc, as if she was mocking Yang Yao for overestimating his capabilities. My depth drill is a big move, and the sharp end of the mausoleum spike was actually grabbed onto by this little girl. What is that hand of hers made of? Is it a prehistoric artifact? You just don't believe me, and you are actually chasing after me to beat me up. Yizizi laughed softly, and her palm slightly exerted force. Bang! The mausoleum spike that was a prehistoric godly artifact could be seen shattering. At the very least, the sharp end of the mausoleum spike was completely shattered by Yizizi. This scene caused the over 1 million people to be dumbfounded. A prehistoric godly artifact was able to shatter with just a small hand, and it was even tempered thrice. How is this possible? Yizizi squeezed her hand, then slowly loosened her grip, and some powder could be seen floating out from her hand. Yang Yao's expression revealed out an astonished expression. Without thinking too much, he directly leaped backwards and pulled apart the distance between them. He felt that the person standing in front of him wasn't a little girl at all. She was a demon. The incarnation of a demon. This was the first time he saw someone being able to shatter a prehistoric godly artifact into powder. Yizizi slowly walked towards Yang Yao, and Yang Yao retreated backwards reflexively. When Shi saw this scene, he thought that Yang Yao was finished. The bird that sticks out will be shot. Why can't you hold back anymore? Mu Xinhai looked at Yang Yao, who was gradually retreating, and his expression became extremely ugly. 100%. Why do you always make me lose face? This damned Wushu Empire. Just what is this little girl made of, to be able to shatter a prehistoric godly artifact with just her palm? Shi, who was behind Mu Xinhai, sighed in his heart. This Yang Yao should be finished. I reckon that only a Dozun would be able to deal with this little girl. Over 1 million people watched as a little girl gradually forced Yang Yao to retreat. No matter what, that Yang Yao was at the peak of the Dozong realm, and he needed his dignity as well. Right now, he actually didn't even want his dignity anymore. From this, it could be seen just how terrified he was. End of this chapter. Chapter 862. Only those who truly faced Yi Zizi would feel fear. One couldn't blame Yang Yao for being timid. This was a normal reaction. Back then, Yi Zizi even beat others until they became autistic. Don't retreat, we haven't started fighting yet. Yi Zizi laughed lightly. She felt that she hadn't even warmed up yet. Yang Yao's face was filled with fear as he continuously retreated and questioned with a trembling voice. Just who are you? Me? I am me. You are stupid to actually ask this kind of question. You are not allowed to retreat anymore. Otherwise, I will get angry. Yi Zizi kept her smile and said coldly. Yang Yao wouldn't be fooled. He was obviously not her opponent, and he even lost a weapon that was tempered to level 3, and he even lost face. This was not a worthwhile trade. Yang Yao could be seen running away very shamelessly. His body turned into an afterimage and flew towards the horizon. Seeing Yang Yao running away in a hurry, Mu Xinhai wished that he could kill him himself. This was a deserter. Everyone had the right to punish him. However, when Yang Yao was running away, Yi Zizi's figure also disappeared. When Yang Yao was really happy that he ran away, Yi Zizi's figure once again appeared in front of him. I hate people running away the most, Yi Zizi said in a low voice, and her small fist suddenly shot out. Before Yang Yao could even react, he felt a pain in his abdomen. But it was only a little bit of pain. Ha ha ha, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. Yang Yao laughed wildly. This crazy laughter seemed as if it was going to penetrate through the heaven and earth. Along with a boom, Yang Yao's body could be seen exploding in the air, causing everyone to be dumbstruck. Instantly killing a peak dozong with a punch. May I ask, how did you do it? Sure, you also had the strength of a peak dozong. But seeing Yang Yao being killed with a punch, his entire person was not good. If it was him just now, he would definitely be killed with a punch. He didn't even see how powerful that punch was. It was as if it was just a casual punch. Mu Xinhai felt that this little girl definitely had a weapon on her hand. Otherwise, how could she be able to grab a prehistoric godly item and instantly kill a peak dozong with a punch? All of this felt so impossible. Yi Zizi raised her small fist and said slowly, "So weak, gone in an instant. I already said not to introduce you. What a waste of saliva." After speaking, Yi Zizi floated towards the city tower. "Let Lai Gu go up. These people are too weak. I'm not interested." "Zizi, are you not playing anymore?" Lai Gu was happy. She finally left. Yi Zizi pouted. "Boring. I'm going back to sleep. You can play by yourself." "Haha, alright, bye-bye." Lai Gu was very happy in his heart. "Leave quickly, leave these people to me." Seeing the little girl leave, a lot of people were happy. Thought in his. Yi saw that the little girl leave. Actually, Yi Yezian thought in that had left. Actually, seeing the little girl leave, many people secretly rejoiced. After all, the impact of Yi Zizi's attack just now was very strong. Now that she had left, everyone felt at ease. They even felt that with an expert gone, it would be easier to deal with them. They had forgotten that Yi Zizi was heading towards the city. Even if the city was breached, they would still have to face them. However, at this time, the city gates were still not closed. Could they be a little more careful? In any case, they were here to attack the city. If they closed the city gates, there would still be an atmosphere of attacking the city. The current atmosphere was very bad. Lai Gu shouted loudly. "That round just now doesn't count. Let's start again." "Sure you, Xiang Liren. Why doesn't it count? Why doesn't it count? It definitely counts. That Yang Yao isn't the strongest, he's just a cannon fodder. Don't get arrogant, you average guy." Mu Xinhai felt that the other party was insulting him again and said gravely, "Sure, you go and play." Shuri paused for a moment, then said respectfully, "Manner master, how about we see who the other party sends out first?" Mu Xinhai still didn't know that this Shuri was a cunning old fox. If the other party was very strong, he definitely wouldn't go up. You guys send out your people. Mu Xinhai shouted loudly. Lai Gu was happy. Just as he was about to jump down, a voice rang out beside him. Lai Gu, what are you doing? Lai Gu felt that he was going to die. Why do people keep appearing at such a crucial moment? Can't all of you come at once? Don't appear so intermittently. This will tire me to death. The person who came was still a little girl. Kai Yun. This was also someone that Lai Gu didn't want to see. After all, this Kai Yun was from Yuehua's side, so he had to give way to her. Wow, so many people, so many ships. Kai Yun looked at the horizon and couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Both of his hands were covering his mouth, as if he was very afraid. Shi Yu and Xiang Liren's jaws were about to drop onto the ground. A little girl just left. Why is there another little girl coming? Could it be that this Wushu Empire doesn't have any big ones? All of them are little girls? And this little girl doesn't seem to be as strong as the one just now. She seems to be very weak. How about I send out another little girl? Lai Gu squeezed out a smile and asked. Kai Yun, why did you come? Oh, I just bumped into Yi Zizi. She said that there's something fun to do here. Kai Yun said with a smile. Yi Zizi did not lie to him. Sure enough, there was something fun here. Lai Gu covered his face with his hand. This Yi Zizi, I let you go and play for a round, so why did you still have to tell other people about it? Furthermore, you even told Kai Yun this wife's family. Then why is this king still playing? These people were discovered by this king. You can't snatch them all. That Kai Yun, Yuhua has something to talk to you about today. Lai Gu began to bullsh *t. As long as I can trick Kai Yun away, everything will be fine. Yuhua is looking for me? There's no hurry. It's not a big deal anyway. Lai Gu hurriedly said, it's a big matter. Did you bully Yuhua? Kai Yun asked. How is that possible? Why would I bully Yuhua? Lai Gu was truly ashamed. What is this Kai Yun thinking about all day long? Then I'll go down and play. Without waiting for Lai Gu to reply, Kai Yun floated out just like that, and his face had a childlike innocence. At the very least, many people felt that this was the expression a child should have. The one just now was too savage and not to be trifled with at all. Seeing that the little girl had gone up the stage, Xiang Liren and Shi Yu felt a bit despair again. Manner Master, leave this little girl to me. Shi Yi, who was standing behind Mu Xinhai, said respectfully. Shi Yi was able to guarantee that this little girl is definitely not as powerful as the previous one, and is definitely weaker than the previous one. Therefore, I can go up the stage and ensure that everything goes smoothly. However, Shi Yi didn't think of one point. Even if the other party is weaker, you are still not a match for the other party. This is the fatal blow. You are still too young. End of this chapter. Chapter 863. Go, be careful. Mu Xinhai did not object to Shi Yi's request. This Shi Yi had the strength of a peak Do Di. It was a completely different concept from the peak of the Do Zone class. Hence he was much more at ease. The main point was that this little girl looked like an honest person who was easy to bully. If Kai Yun knew what these people were thinking, she would definitely laugh delicately. How do you guys know that I'm an honest person? You're really too smart. However, just as Shi Yi was about to step onto the warship, a figure suddenly appeared. This surprised everyone present. This was a young man who looked as cold as ice. His skin was very white, and the main point was that his appearance was very beautiful, and he had long hair. If she wore women's clothing, she would definitely be a great beauty. When Mu Xinhai saw this person, he immediately greeted respectfully, "Greetings, Fanjin." Shi Yi had never seen Fanjin before, but when he heard Mu Xinhai's words, he immediately cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Fanjin." No need for formalities. Fanjin said calmly, appearing very natural. His right hand was placed behind his back, and his left hand was placed on his abdomen. Seeing Fanjin's sudden appearance, Mu Xinhai and Shi Yi both calmed down. This was a person who was half a step into the realm of honorable martial artist. Today, he would definitely destroy Wushu Empire. When Fanjin caught sight of the voidless empire before him, he let out a slightly startled look as well. However, he quickly retracted it. Who would have thought that there would be such an empire in the northern cold land? This was truly an eye-opening experience. No wonder Mushinhai wanted to take it for himself. Even he was a little tempted by it. However, as someone who already had half a foot into the ranks of Supremes, he still couldn't bring himself to do so. Sure, you also saw the man who suddenly appeared and expressed that she did not know him. Valley Master, who is this man? Sure, you asked curiously. Xiang Liren's entire body froze. Mushinhai had really called Fanjin over. Originally, he thought that it was fake. How could Mushinhai call Fanjin? But now that the truth was in front of him, he had no choice but to believe it. Shiryu was shocked to see Xiang Liren beside her. Even she felt a little uncertain. Valley Master, who is this? Xiang Liren took a deep breath. This is Fanjin, a man who is half a step into becoming an honorable. Hearing Xiang Liren's words, Shiryu was like a stone sculpture, unable to budge an inch. This person was actually the legendary figure of the north, the great god Fanjin. He was just a step away from entering the ranks of Supremes. This was too terrifying. Also, why did he come here today? I'm done for. A person who is half a step into the realm of Overlord came, and he's really dead. Shiryu wasn't the only one who thought this way. Xiang Li and the others also felt the same. They were really dead. Mushinhai was now full of confidence. As long as Fanjin was around, they would definitely win today's battle. Don't worry, Fanjin said calmly. This was just a small matter, and there was no need for him to do anything. Just look at the formation of the other party. No, this shouldn't be called a formation, because there was no formation at all. There was even a little girl standing in the middle, and the city gate was still open. Could it be that they were scared silly? Where was the emperor? He couldn't be dreaming, right? Right now, Yihua was currently hugging onto his 3 wives, and he was currently dreaming, and he was completely unaware that his subordinate had snatched away the limelight of him acting cool. I reckon that when Yihua wakes up, he would already be gone. Daji stood outside the door and waited. In order not to disturb her master's sleep, she even set up a barrier. This bunch of reckless fools actually dared to disturb his master's sweet dreams. He really wanted to rush out and kill them all. In the field. Shuri finally entered the field. He steadily landed 30 feet away from Kai Yun. Kai Yun had been maintaining a childlike smile. Coupled with that petite figure of hers, she really looked like a child. However, different from Yi Zizi, this was a little girl that came from the bottom of her heart. Kai Yun felt that there was a rather powerful person that came just now, but that powerful person actually didn't come down. And what the hell came instead? I'm really a little disappointed. Sai Shuri heard the sigh of the little girl and asked curiously, if you go back now, I won't kill you. You want to kill me? I haven't even planned to kill you yet, bad guy, Kai Yun said with a childish voice. Shuri immediately covered her face. Big sister, how can you say such words when 2 armies are facing each other? You have to say some threatening words, just like that little girl just now, saying some threatening words right from the start. Threatening people at the drop of a hat. This is what is called imposing manner. Look at you, your words are still soft, and you even said that you are a bad guy at the end. My God. I'm definitely a bad guy. I'm dead for sure. Shuri didn't expect that this little girl would be so delicate, to actually call me a bad guy. Do I look like a good person? I'm already fighting my way to your doorstep. I've already given you a chance. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Shuri said coldly. Since they were on the battlefield, age and strength were no longer important. You can only blame yourselves for underestimating your opponent, to actually ask a little girl to come and fight. I don't blame you, Kai Yun said happily. This person's words were really interesting. Following Kai Yun's words, over 1 million people were secretly laughing. This little girl was much more adorable. That little girl just now was a violent little loli, simply too terrifying. However, the one fighting this time around was Shuri, with the strength of a peak do di. He would definitely be able to kill his opponent with one punch and turn the tables. Xiang Liren and Shuri were almost unable to hold on any longer. Both of their legs were trembling. This little girl couldn't give them confidence at all. They would definitely be completely abused by Shuri. As the leader of the Viper sect, Shuri was an expert in playing with snakes. His snakes were all carefully bred, and even a dozun had to be careful when dealing with them. After being poisoned, it was impossible to cure them in a short period of time. In that case, I'll let you have a taste first. Shuri swung his right hand, and a black shadow flew out from his elegant robe and attacked Kai Yun. Its speed was so fast that it left one speechless. Fan Jin saw Shuri's action and faintly said, "It is unexpected that this person actually has a Koan snake. Not bad." Mu Xinhai respectfully said, "He is the leader of the Viper sect, Shuri. He specializes in collecting some rare snake species." "So that's the case. That makes sense," Fan Jin faintly said. At this moment, Shuri also exclaimed, "What kind of snake is this?" Xiang Liren said in a deep voice, "This is a Koan snake. This kind of snake is extremely small, but its poison is extremely high. Even a Do Di will faint after being bitten. Moreover, this kind of Koan snake is extremely rare. If it is not raised from a young age, it will kill its owner." "What if I am bitten?" Shiryu curiously asked. Xiang Liren looked at Shiryu and laughed softly. "You will be gone in a breath's time." "Damn it, is it so terrifying?" Shiryu exclaimed. "That's right. This fellow is the Snake King, a Do Di who plays with snakes. He is much stronger than me," Xiang Liren faintly said. It seemed that he was also very afraid of these poisonous snakes. It was impossible to guard against them. End of this chapter. Chapter 864. Shiryu's face turned ashen as she listened to the end of the story. A Do Di who played with snakes was really King untouchable. This little girl was finished. After she was done for, he and the Valley Master would also be done for. "Are you two trying to play us to death?" It was cold. Kai Yin seemed to be in a daze, as if he didn't know what was going on at all. That innocent look of his made people believe him without a doubt. Lai Gu, who was standing on top of the city wall, was very depressed. "Don't create any more trouble. I just want to go down and act cool. What's wrong with that? I'll just pretend for a while. Damn it, I've already thought of my lines." As the Koan snake sped forward, Kai Yin suddenly stretched out his hand. It was so fast that no one noticed it. Seeing this, Fan Jin, who was standing on the battleship, was stunned for a moment. His brows furrowed slightly. Who was Kai Yin? Back then, she was a little girl who had fought against Yi Hua. Her strength was terrifying, and her battle prowess was not to be underestimated. In the end, Yi Hua still managed to scare Kai Yin to the point that he pissed his pants with Yi Hua's deviant flame. This also showed how formidable deviant flames were, especially Yi Hua's deviant flame, which was even more monstrous to the extreme. However, even now, Yi Hua still hasn't managed to fuse with all the different flames that he wanted. On the other hand, Dong Huangli casually fused with all the different flames, causing Yi Hua to feel depressed. However, when I thought about my child's talent, I didn't really put it to heart. My child should be more powerful than me. Only then would I be able to make myself feel proud. Kai Yin grabbed the Koan serpent's head. Everyone was dumbfounded by this action. Looking at Shiryu and Xiang Liren, their eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Their mood was like sitting on a rocket, going up and down. They felt like they couldn't handle such a state of mind. Just a moment ago, he thought that the little girl was done for, but in the blink of an eye, the little girl actually grabbed the Koan snake. Mu Xinhai couldn't help but exclaim, "How is this possible? She actually caught it." Fan Jin stood at the back and did not say a word. His face was a little gloomy. Even though it was only a small claw, it contained too many profound techniques. From the moment it moved to the moment it landed, everything was done neatly, and it was so swift that even he was only able to catch a glimpse of it. What kind of little girl was she? Fan Jin was a little shocked. In terms of speed, this little girl did not lose to him. Looking at the open city gate behind the little girl, Fan Jin unconsciously swallowed his saliva. Just what kind of world was beyond that? And the man on the city wall? What the hell was he wearing? Why was this outfit so strange? It was too frivolous. And it was pink. His hair was even parted in the middle. And that frivolous expression, his whole body lying on the city wall. as if he was very bored. Just a moment ago, she had thought that this man was being arrogant, but now, he didn't take it to heart at all. This was a kind of confidence. What happened before I came? Fanjin faintly asked. His solemn expression faded away. He knew that he couldn't express his negative emotions right now. After all, Fanjin also wanted face. Mu Xinhai softly said. Just now the other party also sent out a little girl. She shattered a peak dozong with one punch. She's also a little girl? Fanjin was puzzled. Were there no men in this empire? Did they all let girls compete? That's right. That little girl crushed an ancient godly item, and it was even tempered thrice. Mu Xinhai added. Then he added, I feel that the little girl should be carrying some kind of weapon. Fanjin was speechless. If he was really carrying a weapon, that would be fine. But if he didn't bring it, Fanjin couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. If he didn't bring it, his strength should be at least at the overlord level. Because even I am unable to crush an ancient godly item that was tempered thrice with my bare hands. Right now Fanjin was a little uncertain. Suddenly, Fanjin asked, What are those two people standing over there for? Spectator seats? Great God, Fanjin, those two people are traitors, they are cowards. If they just stand there, Wushu Empire won't be able to harm them. Mu Xinhai said gravely. After I take care of Wushu Empire, I will kill those two people. Indeed. Fanjin said softly. He seemed to mind, but he still took a look at the spectator seats. On the stage, Shi was a little speechless. My Kuan snake was actually caught by the girl on the other side. This is a scene I have never seen before. She is actually still teasing my Kuan snake. That's right. Kai Yin was indeed teasing Shi's Kuan snake. TSK, good little snake, what is your name? Kai Yin could be seen grabbing onto the lower part of the snake's head and patting onto the Kuan snake's head with his left hand. To be honest, right now, the Kuan snake was a little stupefied as well. The Kuan snake charged out with the aura of death, and that expression on its face was rather sinister. As long as someone saw that expression, that person would definitely be fearful. If there was a mirror in front of the Kuan snake, even the Kuan snake would be frightened by that ferocious expression. Just as the Kuan snake was about to bite onto the girl's neck and release its liquid, unexpectedly, the girl grabbed onto its throat, and that feeling was just as if its lifeblood was cut off. Furthermore, the girl even patted onto its head. Could it be that you have never seen such a ferocious snake before? Look at my ferocious expression. Are you frightened by it? Still not letting go of me? Let me take a bite. Io. Patting my head, if you have the guts, pat my head again and make my expression 3 times more ferocious. I will make you shiver in fear. Kai Yin said with a smile. Aya, this little snake actually knows how to use emoticons, cute. After finished speaking, Kai Yin patted onto the Kuan snake's head. The Kuan snake immediately felt that its dignity was being insulted, and it opened its big mouth. SSS, are you fierce or not? Don't be frightened to the point of peeing. However, the Kuan snake that opened its mouth was stupefied. If it were to say what was the thing that it regretted the most in its entire life, it would be that it opened its mouth in front of this little girl. Because Kai Yin directly pinched onto the Kuan snake's poisonous fang and pulled. Afterward, Kai Yin pulled out another poisonous fang, then said with a smile, All right, you are not poisonous anymore. Over 1 million people were stupefied. This little girl is so scary. Killing people without a trace. No, this is killing a snake without a trace. You pulled out a poisonous snake's fang. How do you expect other people to be poisonous snakes in the future? Do other people's snakes not care about their face? In front of over 1 million people, you humiliated a snake in front of everyone. Too much. This is too much. This kind of way of doing things is simply asking for heaven's punishment. Right now, the Kuan snake didn't know what was going on. It just felt that its mouth was in pain, and its brain was buzzing. Afterward, when it closed its mouth, it felt that something was missing, just like the feeling of an old person without teeth. My teeth? My poisonous fang. Mommy, where did my poisonous fang go to? End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.